Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024. This is the 28th meeting of the current term of the Metropolitan Council of Nashville and Davidson County. Will all members of the council, as well as the public, please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation is being offered this evening by District 23 Council Member Tom Druffel in partnership with colleagues and Councilwomen Sherry Weiner and Zulfat Swara. Councilman, you're recognized.
Thanks, Chair. And I thought I'd do a little bit of something different. Had a tough year, and we've been talking about peace for the entire year. And I thought we'd round out the year with sharing prayers from Councilor Zulfat and Weiner and myself on a brief prayer on peace. We'll start with Councilor Zulfat. Thank you.
Bismillah. Allahumma hantan salam wa minkan salam. Tabarakta ya dal jalal wal ikram. O Allah, you are peace, and from you comes peace. Blessed are you, O owner of majesty and honor. Our Lord, we ask that you grant us peace in our hearts and in our lives. Help us to realize that our peace is intricately linked to the peace of others. Grant us peace in our city, in our state, our country, and in our world. Amen.
This was written based on the prayer Shalom Rav, which is one of our prayers for peace. I ask you for peace. I ask you for love. I ask you for guidance from up above. I ask you for safety. I ask you for protection. I ask you for patience and care and affection. Adonai, hear my voice. Adonai, hear me sing. Hear the words aching within my heart. Hear me crying out as my voice rings. B'chol et uv'chol shah bishlomecha, oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imru amen. The one who makes peace in the heights, please make peace for us and for all of humanity.
And I'll end it with the prayer of St. Francis, peace prayer for St. Francis. I don't know if anybody's read his story, but it's truly an amazing story. And for me, it's descriptive of actions that I need to take for peace. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there's hatred, let me sow love. Where there's injury, pardon. Where there's doubt, faith. Where there's despair, hope. Where there's darkness, light. Where there's sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Thank you, council members, and thank you, Councilman Druffel. With Thanksgiving this past week, a dusting of snow last night, and a Christmas tree out front on the public square, the holiday season is truly upon us. All Nashvillians are welcome to join the mayor and the Metro Council at the city's tree lighting ceremony on Friday evening, which will feature 2 local school choirs from Head Magnet Middle and Lakeview Elementary. This council has paid special attention to youth civic engagement in 2024 with the launch of a Youth in Local Government Day this past spring, thanks to Councilmember Swara, hosting Power Youth Program members interning with our Metro departments this summer, and collaboration over several months on the creation of the Office of Youth Safety, thanks to Budget Chair Porterfield. Members and I have visited college classes in person and via Zoom and hosted middle and high school student groups in this chamber, presenting our new Metro Council 101 slide deck And we have welcomed youth ambassadors to and from our sister cities around the world and several local scout troops too. This evening, we are joined by Cub Scout Pack 58 from Jolton. We appreciate Cub Master Jeremy Parker and Assistant Cub Master Tegan Pop for bringing their pack to join us this evening. This pack of scouts are the guests of District 1 Councilmember Kimbrough and District 7 Councilmember Benedict. So, Council, the holiday season reminds us of gratitude for our colleagues and the important bonds of family. And so I want to share some sad news and extend our condolences to Elise Waller on the sudden passing of her beloved husband, Floyd Waller, this past weekend. Rosie has emailed the council this evening with visitation and funeral arrangements for Mr. Waller. And Elise, we are sending you our love. Okay, without objection, we will suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to please record the names of the members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes of the meeting of November 19th? Is there a second? Okay, there's a motion and it's properly seconded. So without objection, the minutes of the meeting of November 19th are approved. Mr. Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
Yes, there is a message.
Go ahead, please, Mr. Clerk.
Dear Vice Mayor Henderson and members of council, pursuant to regulations of the Tennessee Comptroller's Office, reports on debt obligation must be submitted to the Metropolitan Council and presented at a meeting of that body before filed with the Comptroller of the state. As previously approved by the Metropolitan Council, the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County General Obligation Improvement Bonds Series 2024 RS 2024-739 became effective October 30th, 2024. The $860 million GO Bond Series 2024A, Series 2024B, and Series 2024C were issued for capital projects. As always, we appreciate the Metropolitan Council's support on these important financing initiatives. Sincerely, Mayor Freddie O'Connell.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, we're moving straight into the rest of our agenda. Section E for elections. Item E1 is an election to fill 2 vacancies on the board of the Health and Education Facilities Board with terms expiring September 30th of 2030. There are 2 nominees, Kenya Payne, nominated by Councilmember Coopin, and Becky Sharp, nominated by Councilmember Allen. With only 2 vacancies, but each nominee requiring 21 votes and allowing for any noes or abstentions, we will, colleagues, be doing this on our tablet. But first, we go to Councilman Chair Prepty for his committee report, please, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The committee considered both of these appointments and voted 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting, respectively.
Okay.
And with that, I move approval.
Thank you. All right. Okay. I think on items on discussion, or rather on election, we do not have discussion. Correct? Yeah, I'm sorry, I had a little pause there for a moment. Mr. Clerk, if you would please open the vote. We having tablet issues? I see. Remember the stars. Mr. Clerk, please show the vote. All right, council has elected Kenya Payne and Becky Sharp to serve on the Health and Education Facilities Board. Congratulations to them both. Are they joining us this evening? They're not required to be here. Oh, hello. Thank you so much. We appreciate your willingness to serve. Thank you, Ms. Payne. Okay, now we're moving into section F of our agenda, appointees and nominees. This portion of the agenda shares all persons that were scheduled to appear before the Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee this evening. Re-referrals back to the committee will be by rule as part of the council's two-meeting process for all elections and confirmations. No votes will be taken by the body in this section of the agenda other than for deferrals. Chair Prep T, committee report, please. First, for any withdrawals or deferrals.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. The Solid Waste Region Board reappointment of Demita Beck-Taylor was withdrawn.
Okay, so noted. It is withdrawn.
As well, the Sexual Oriented Business Licensing Board reappointment of Amina Osman was deferred for one meeting.
Okay, can you please make a motion to that effect, please?
So moved.
Is there a second for the deferral? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of that one meeting deferral on item F5? Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, that is deferred one meeting. Okay, Mr. Prepti, go ahead with your report then.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. With regard to the Mechanical, Plumbing, and Electrical Examiners and Appeals Board reappointment of Brian Yunker, as well as the reappointment of Anthony Pezzi, we voted 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. With regard to the Metro Action Commission appointment of Topania Byers, as well as Shilan Haji, we voted 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. With the Solid Waste Region Board appointment of Erica Dixie, as well as the Transportation Licensing Commission reappointment of Dr. Carol Westlake, and the Waste Hearing Authority appointment of Dr. Jinwei Lee, we voted 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, thank you, sir. So all those persons were interviewed by your committee today, and they will be re-referred by rule for confirmation consideration on December 17th. Okay, so now in section G of our agenda, you are recognized again, Chair, for your committee report on appointees in the second step of your committee's two-meeting process. Again, first for deferrals, if there are any, please.
There are no deferrals.
Okay, and then so next for persons who received a vote of recommendation by your committee, and then a consolidated motion for those same appointees, please.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. With regard to the Metro Action Commission appointment of Prabhati Santosh Kumar, we voted 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. For the Property Standards Appeals Board appointment of Sam Petshula, 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. With regard to the Transportation Licensing Commission appointment of Freddie Carr, as well as Patrick McNally, as well as the Waste Hearing Authority appointment of Jennifer Daub, Katie Duryea, Jay Taint, as well as Robert Wingfield. We voted 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. With that, I move approval.
Okay, is there a second? Is any member seeking to be recognized to remove an item from this collective vote and or to be recorded as abstaining on a particular item here in section F? Okay, seeing none and without objection, we will be voting on all these items together. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any voting no or abstaining? Okay. All right, so if you were just confirmed by vote and have returned to join us in chambers this evening, which again is optional, please do stand to be recognized when you hear your name called as I read the names of those confirmed, and then we'll provide a collective applause for everyone at the end. So to the Metropolitan Action Commission, Council has confirmed Ms. Santhush Kumar. To the Property Standards and Appeals Board, Council has confirmed Sam Petulat. To the Transportation and Licensing Commission, Council has appointed and confirmed Mr. Freddie Carr. Also to Transportation Licensing Commission, Council has confirmed the reappointment of Patrick McNally. To the Water Hearing Authority, Council, or the Wastewater Hearing Authority, Council has confirmed the appointments of Jennifer Dodd and Katie Duryea, and the reappointment of Jay Tant, and also the reappointment of Robert Wingfield. So, seeing nobody here standing, oh yes, thank you for being here. We are grateful to everyone, whether here in chambers or watching from home, for their willingness to serve our city. Thank you, Sam. Okay, next is section H on our agenda is the public comment period. Members of the public who are Tennessee residents wishing to speak may sign up for public comment in person at the table outside the council chamber on the day of the council meeting from 5 to 6 p.m. Public comment is limited to 20 minutes, and each speaker is allowed up to 2 minutes to speak. Persons speaking on agenda items must be prioritized to comply with state law. Okay, all right. First, having signed up for public comment, agenda item 18, resolution 2024-792 in support is Danny Ayala. As I call your name, if you will please come forward. You are recognized, sir.
Vice Mayor and council members, my name is Danny Ayala, and I am the general manager of the Hampton Inn and Suites on Dickerson Pike and Briley Parkway. Our hotel, with several others in our city, are locally owned and operated as a small business. Our hotel has experienced a rash of car break-ins of our guests and our staffs and their vehicles, as well as our neighbor, TriStar Skyline Medical Center. The safety and security of our team members and guests are the utmost importance to us and should be to you as well. FUSIS allows the police to efficiently collaborate with and assist victims of crime, reduces the likelihood of misidentification, and aids in quickly solving crimes while reducing further victimization. We are confident that the additional safeguards that Mayor O'Connell is contemplating will sufficiently address concerns over any potential misuse of the technology beyond the perimeters allowed today. Our hotel is in Councilman Parker's district, and I personally reside in Councilman Bradford's district. We would encourage Councilman Parker and Councilman Bradford and all of you to support these important safety tools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ayala. Next is Jeanette Barker, also speaking on Resolution 792 in support. Go ahead, you're recognized.
Good evening. Thank you, Council and Vice Mayor. My name is Jeanette Barker. I am a District 34 resident, but I'm speaking today as a representative of the Nashville Downtown Partnership in District 19. And we serve as a unified voice for all who live, work, and play in our vibrant downtown. We're speaking today in support of the FUSIS resolution and today's amendment, as it is the position of the Downtown Partnership to stand with and support our public safety officers. All citizens need and deserve any and all public safety resources available. To vote no on this resolution would be a vote to take away the right of Nashville's residents to voluntarily provide support to the police department, should they so choose. What would happen in Atlanta, Jackson, or Memphis, where many private cameras are successfully used and registered, if their government voted to forbid the public from voluntarily helping their police department with camera access for rapid, real-time investigations? We know from publicly available information that the number of private citizens who want to assist and support our public safety officers is significant, and it's growing, not shrinking. Speaking for downtown, we know that hundreds of business owners support this and are willing to register and share their cameras with the police. In February, when the FUSIS pilot ended, the camera sharing capability when it ended the camera sharing capability, leaving only the option for citizens to register their cameras, we saw the number of registered cameras double to over 1,300 cameras. These numbers matter and speak to the overall sentiments of our community wanting to help public safety officers do their jobs better, quicker, and more safely. All technology has a worst-case scenario, but decision-making for the public good should not be based only on worst-case scenarios. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Craig Bardo, also speaking on Resolution 792, speaking in opposition. You're recognized.
Shower after that. My name is Craig Bardo. I'm a member of Veterans for Peace, the Black Alliance for Peace, and the Party for Socialism and Liberation. There are many reasons this proposal should be rejected, but I'll focus on just a few. A couple of weeks ago, Councilmember Sara asked for evidence that FUSIS technology is effective. Deputy Chief Gilder rambled on, but didn't provide any supporting evidence or a rational argument because good governance is obviously beside the point. Later, Councilmember Sepulveda asked why this is being considered when crime is down across the board. Another great question. Again, there was no intelligible response coming from the deputy chief. Now let's talk about the mayor. Last week in an interview as part of his PR campaign to drum up support for FUSIS, he lamented that homicides remain, quote unquote, stubbornly high. So though the research is conclusive that surveillance has no effect on homicide rates, and there's been no spike in crime, the mayor wants you to believe that this intrusive surveillance technology is the answer to the phantom problem he created in the interview just to sow fear. But you don't have to take my word about how ridiculous this is. I'd like you to consider what a former colleague of yours had to say. The comments were published in an article written by Stephen Hale for the Nashville Scene. Quote, "I don't see the surveillance state as having particularly greater value than the police state that people are concerned about right now. This is the thing, right? Police-controlled camera technology, I think we should look at with deep skepticism." Any guesses as to who said that?
We're not posing questions to the body. Please just go ahead and speak.
Well, I'll speak then. It was Freddie O'Connell, your mayor. So vote no on this nonsense.
Okay, folks, please no clapping. Next is David Steed, speaking on Resolution 792, speaking in support. David Steed, are you present? Welcome, sir. You're recognized.
Thank you. I'm here, David Steed. I'm here as a private citizen. I'm here because I'm concerned about crime victims, and I'm hoping that you will make your vote based on victims, not hypothetical situations. We have, I'm concerned about the resistance to technology that can prevent serious crime, homicide, and other rape and robbery and other things. Here's the serious problem. Just in the past few days, a shootout in the parking lot by people with AR-15s, assault rifles, that killed a store owner. We had women, I just saw the announcement, women being robbed at gunpoint or knife point in parking lots. We have brazen retail thievery, often with coordinated mass theft. We have rampant car theft. And I take issue with anyone who says that we don't have a problem with that, which they're often used in other crimes. All have victims who are oftentimes minorities or recent immigrants. The victims sometimes are the store clerk who's trying to work through college. Someone at a retail store, retail convenient mart, working the late shift should know that they have the police able to get out there and assess the situation quickly. And if the person who comes in with a gun knows that, maybe there'll be a life saved. And I won't have wasted my time coming down here. Let's let the police respond more effectively as this tool does. It gets evidence to solve crimes. The victims deserve this. The police deserve knowing what's going on. They can determine whether you have a mass shooter situation or a drunk at a store when there's a call for service, which is the only time it's used. You don't have enough police officers. You can't fill the ones you've got. This will let officers do other things, and if you will give them support with the tools they need, maybe you can recruit enough officers to come and do this. FUSIS has a proven track record in Chattanooga, Memphis, Jackson, and many other cities. I ask you to approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next is Verna Wyatt, speaking in support of Resolution 2024-792. Following Ms. Wyatt, so go ahead and get ready, will be Stephen Hirsch. Go ahead, Ms. Wyatt, you are recognized.
Hi, I'm co-founder of Tennessee Voices for Victims, and I've been serving victims of crime for 30 years, and I have never felt the need to speak before the council before. And quite frankly, I'm shocked that I have to do it now. You have absolutely no idea, unless you've been a victim of crime, how important it is to have your crime solved. And if it's a rape or if it's a murder, you want that crime solved. And you want it solved so you can get that person off the street and have justice. But you also want it solved because you want to get that person off so that they don't commit another crime. And you talk about, there's other kinds of crimes that happen where people are abducted. I think about my sister-in-law who was raped and murdered 30 years ago. If this technology was available to the police then, maybe she would still be alive today because she was the victim of a second-time rapist. And maybe he abducted his first victim off of the street. If this technology was available and they would have apprehended him, she wouldn't be dead today. So it's really important that you consider public safety. It's one thing that we all have in common, we're all human beings, but all of us can be victims of crime. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter your education level. You can be a victim of crime. And believe me, when it happens to you, it doesn't matter what everything else is going on around you. The world stops. And this is an opportunity to support our police, help them solve the crimes, help them prevent other victimization. And to me, it's a no-brainer. The cameras are out there. I wonder how many people in here that are opposing this, how many of you have Ring doorbells? And why do you have them? To protect yourself, to stay safe. We want the police to help keep us safe. We don't need vigilantes. We want the police that have the experience to solve the crimes, to prevent crime, and to give victims justice. And I urge you to vote for FUSIS.
Thank you. Stephen Hirsch, also on Resolution 792 in support. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Steve Hirsch. I am a Davidson County resident in District 25. I recently spoke at the public hearing on behalf of FUSIS, and I want to reiterate a few points. The only way FUSIS works with security cameras if there is a FUSIS box connected to the camera system within a building. Therefore, it's something that only works in facilities that choose to have the system. It's not a citywide surveillance system. It's not a tool to monitor immigrants or to watch over abortion clinics. It cannot see through your smartphone, your smart TV, or your Ring doorbell. But these are the comments that I see on social media that are trying to influence people towards opposing the system. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the primary responsibilities of our city government is to keep our citizens safe. As council members, you have to balance the trade-off between public safety and personal privacy. Theoretical future misuse of technology is being used as a reason not to adopt FUSIS. The mayor has proposed what amounts to a cancellation option to be included in the contract if there is evidence of misuse of the technology. So this makes your decision revocable if your worst fears of misuse are realized. Please consider the benefits of FUSIS for churches and synagogues, schools, restaurants, all types of businesses and public places. We can't have police officers in all these places all the time. FUSIS can help the police respond more quickly in an emergency and can help in identifying and apprehending criminals in our city. I urge you to approve the funding of FUSIS. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Bobby Watts, speaking on Resolution 792 in opposition. After Bobby Watts will be Stephen Watts. So if you want to go ahead and get prepared and come forward. Go ahead, Mr. Watts, you're recognized.
Thank you. I come here as the CEO of the National Healthcare for the Homeless Council, a national organization, excuse me, that's based here in Nashville. And I bring the collective expertise of the 300 federally qualified health centers that serve people experiencing homelessness and the 175 medical respite programs from across the country. Before delving into some specific concerns, I just have some general concerns and some observations. And one of them is that there seem to be too many unanswered questions about FUSIS at this time. There are lots of questions that we don't know the answers, and a cancellation clause is good, but what's even better is having policies and protocols in place beforehand, which I understand other cities have done, but this city council has yet to do. So I will also say 25 years ago, as part of a group of advocates in New York City, that we convinced New York City and New York State to stop a program, very different issue. And when we did, we worked with them, with every city agency and every government agency to create a program that they all agreed was better and more effective. And I believe that this situation cries out for it to hit pause. Davidson County residents should not be the beta testers for the policies and procedures. Now, to speak very clearly about people experiencing homelessness, anything that criminalizes homelessness is counterproductive, makes it harder for people to get off the streets, to stay employed, and with FUSIS, it can hypercharge to the criminalization of homelessness. Tennessee has the most draconian and extreme anti-camping law in the country, where someone can be charged with a felony. And with FUSIS, not even because they created damage, not because someone complained, but because they were caught on surveillance camera sleeping outside because they had no place to sleep indoors. This is unjust, and we should not continue it. Thank you.
Stephen Watts? Go ahead on 792 in opposition. You're recognized.
My name is Stephen Watts, District 10. I was here last council meeting during public hearing, and I'm back again for public comment. Although we're getting the opportunity to weigh in, this does not feel like democracy. Despite the dozens of people who came last meeting to voice their concerns, this has not been a transparent or democratic process. Many of you voting have told me that you are honest about not fully understanding the contents of the bill because there have been contradictions that came up during the last council meeting and so many additions to it. Despite all of this, the process is determined to chug along. So I tracked down an old Washington Post article about the Brett Kavanaugh hearing, Supreme Court case, where we watched someone get confirmed despite there being so many new revelations constantly. The article is called, "It's Very Difficult to Get the Train to Stop." The train is very, very urgent. It is moving many people's career forward. It is very difficult to get the train to stop. It will require a great many of you to be thrown on the tracks and to scream before the train will grind to a halt. When I was at the Community Safety Center 2 weeks ago, I asked several questions. They included questions about data proving the technology was effective, accountability, policies, and procedures. I did not get answers. Instead, I was told that I asked great questions. That did not feel like a compliment, and it did not make me feel safe. It made me wonder, what did what had they been doing that they didn't feel like they had to be prepared to answer that question? And what had the council been doing that was their first time hearing them? The train is moving very, very fast. As an advocate who works with victims of domestic violence and people who have been formerly and currently unhoused, and there have been 10 arrests in the past couple of weeks of unhoused people under the felony law, I sympathize deeply with those who brought stories of harm. My question is simply this: why do they not have to clear the same bar to bring policy that's clear, effective, and coherent as advocates do? Once the train leaves the station, it's very hard to stop, and I'm tired of being tied on the tracks.
Next is Ezra Howard. Ezra Howard. Folks, if you're clapping, it's hard for folks to hear when it's their turn. Mr. Howard's also speaking on 792 in opposition. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Ezra Howard. I'm a former ESL teacher, a ESL district administrator, and a researcher in English language teaching. I'm going to see if I can get finished with a story in a minute. So on April 5th in 2018 in Bean Station, Tennessee, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, otherwise known as ICE, the IRS, and the Tennessee Highway Patrol raided a slaughterhouse and meatpacking plant. On what should have been an investigation of horrific working conditions turned into the weaponization of law enforcement against almost 100 immigrants who were themselves victims of brutal exploitation. Those of Hispanic descent were explicitly targeted, corralled amongst cattle, subject to racial slurs, and were on the receiving end of violent force, including one worker held at gunpoint while urinating. On October 6th, 550 Hispanic students were absent from school in the neighboring Hamlin County, a district of 10,000 students, 550, because they were terrified they were going to be deported. That's 5.5% of the total student population. The acting director of ICE in 2018 was Tom Homan, the architect of the family separation policy under Trump. The policy that policy was ended under Biden, but last month, Trump named Homan to be border czar, whatever that means. And he has promised to ramp up the terror in pursuit of mass deportation, including deporting entire families. When we have mixed legal status as the reality, that means deporting U.S. citizens, mostly children. Homan was also was a consultant on the infamous Project 2025 from the Heritage Foundation. Here's an excerpt from their section on ICE on page 142. ICE enforcement and removal operations should be identified as being primarily the responsibility for enforcing civil immigration requirements, including civil arrest, detention, and removal of immigration violators anywhere in the United States without warrant when appropriate. That means they're going to try and bypass the warrants. Do not do this. It will negatively affect parents, children,
Thank you,
neighbors.
sir. Thank you, sir. Your time is concluded. Thank you. Last for public comment is Judith Clairjune, speaking on Resolution 792 in opposition. You're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Judith. I'm the Advocacy Director for Turk and Turk Votes. So 2 weeks ago, when speaking here after attending the MNPD demonstration, I asked the council to consider the potential misuse of this technology in our current moment, as we are just weeks away from the inauguration of an administration adamant on criminalizing people. And today I want to add a few additional points. So first, here is an alternative. Consider this. Instead of spending hours and all the back and forth on this software, what if we were to actually sit down with all partners and create a true community safety plan? What if we considered evolving technology on the market, create clear guidelines and guardrails to jointly develop a transparent safety plan for Nashville, where we understand the vision and the plan and we understand how tech fits into that strategy? This FUSIS doesn't show how it fits into an effective community safety plan. Taken at face value, this technology simply makes it easier for police to arrest people. It might be tempting to believe that putting people in prison makes us safer, but we know that's not true. The US has the highest incarceration rate in the world, over 5 times most other countries, and yet ranks far below many nations with lower incarceration rates in terms of public safety metrics. So simply put, the FUSIS software makes it easy for police to detain and jail people, increase the number of people in our prisons. It doesn't prevent crime. It doesn't stop crime. It does not increase our safety or fit into a community safety plan. Community safety is more than just punishment. And we really got to get that. The police show up after a crime. They don't prevent crime.
Thank you,
Our
Ms.
families
Clairgeon.
do.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes our public comment period. Next, we move on to our public hearing with a resolution and bills on public hearing. Whoop. Okay. Spanish interpretation services are provided for Metro Council public hearings. This evening, Ms. Gabriela Bojorquez is here as the interpreter. Ms. Bojorquez, can you please share how you can help, please, ma'am?
Los servicios de interpretación en español estarán disponibles en la audiencia pública.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Okay. For those wishing to speak this evening as part of our public hearings, please do state your name clearly, but it is not required for you to provide your address. If you do not wish to do so, you may want to tell us in what neighborhood or area you live or on what street, what your connection to the agenda item or project is, or who your council member is. First, we have one resolution for public hearing. It is agenda item 1, RS 2024-878, sponsor coupon. This is a resolution exempting Little Hats Italian Market located at 1120 4th Avenue North, number 101, from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit pursuant to Section 7.08.090E of the Metropolitan Code. Councilmember Coupon, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Open the public hearing, please.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, do those persons here in support wish to speak? Okay, I do not see anyone seeking such. So with that, Mr. Coupon, I declare the public hearing closed, and it is back to you for a motion on your resolution.
Thank you. I'd like to move approval.
Okay.
Committee reports, maybe?
Yeah, and we also need to get a committee report, Chair Hill. Chair Hill? Oh, I'm sorry. Vice Chair Eastlick, you are recognized for the committee report, please.
Thank you very much. The Government Operations and Regulations took up RS 2024-878. It was approved, 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, with that committee report in, would you renew your motion, please?
I would love to, Madam President. Thank you. Move approval, please.
Okay. Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this resolution has passed. Okay, next we're going to move into bills, ordinances on public hearing. Agenda item 2, ordinance BL 2024-594, sponsor Taylor and Ellis, is an ordinance amending section 17.04.060 of the Metropolitan Code, zoning regulations, to add a definition for bar or nightclub and amend the definition of beer and cigarette market. Sponsor Taylor, sir, you are recognized.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, I'd like to defer this with a brief comment, move for a deferral with a brief comment.
Okay. Do you want to defer to a meeting certain?
To the January 21st date.
Okay. So you want to defer the bill to the public hearing that will take place on January 21st.
That's correct.
Okay. Is there a second for that? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. So, one, we're deferring this. It has to go before MPC, and I got a few questions on this. This is just truly to codify the language. Currently, right now, bar nightclub isn't defined in Metro Code. It's just bar nightclub is a usage that you can have in zoning, et cetera. And so, in working with the codes administrator, we want to kind of codify that language based on how they're currently interpreting the language and how they're acting in regards to bar nightclub. So this will give a little, the best way I can say, some breathing room for them to codify this language in our Metro Code to create opportunities for them to enforce this code. So again, I'd like to renew my motion for deferral to January 21st.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there any discussion on Councilman Taylor's deferral motion? Seeing none, all in favor of a deferral to January 21st, please say aye. Any voting no? Any abstaining? Okay, this item is deferred. Right, next bill on public hearing is Ordinance BL 2024-595, sponsor Gamble. And Vice Chair Rutherford, have you signed on to this bill? Okay, thank you, sir. And Rutherford, this is an ordinance amending section 17.36.675 of the Metropolitan Code zoning regulations to correct clerical errors. Vice Chair of Planning and Zoning Committee, Mr. Rutherford, you are recognized, sir.
Open the public hearing, please.
Okay. I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, Vice Chair, seeing none on either side, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it is back to you for a motion on this bill.
Move approval.
Is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this ordinance? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this has passed its second reading of 3. Okay. Next is agenda item 4, ordinance BL 2024-598, sponsor Coupon. This is an ordinance approving amendment number 7 to the Phillips Jackson Street redevelopment plan pertaining to certain general business land uses. Councilman Coupon, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open on Ordinance 598. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay. We're going to open the public hearing first, and then before Mr. Coupon makes a motion, he will request his committee reports. Okay, would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing none on either side, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Mr. Coupon, for your committee reports and a motion.
Thank you, Madam President.
Oh, sorry, sir. Okay.
Committee reports, please.
First is for the report of the Budget and Finance Committee. Chair Porterfield, go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance consider BL 2024-598 and approve 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay. Next, for the report of the Planning and Zoning Committee, Vice Chair Rutherford, you're recognized.
Planning and Zoning considered BL 2024-598 and recommended 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay. Okay, so with those committee reports in, it's back to you, Mr. Coupon, for a motion on your bill.
Move approval, please.
Is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this ordinance? Seeing none, all in favor of approval on second reading, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this is passed at second of 3 readings. Okay, next is agenda item 5, ordinance BL 2024-608, sponsor Toombs. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by applying a corridor design overlay district to various properties located east of Buena Vista Pike and south of Moorman's Arm Road. This is 3.17 acres. Councilwoman Toombs, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Request to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill, please raise your hand? Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill, please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in support or opposition, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Ms. Toombs.
Move for approval.
Is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this ordinance? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this is passed second reading. Agenda item 6, ordinance BL 2024-609, sponsor Horton, is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by amending a portion of a specific plan for property located at 54th Avenue North, unnumbered, at the current terminus of 54th Avenue North, zoned SP, 8.1 acres, to permit up to 320 multifamily residential units in Zone 1 and to modify allowed units within Zone 1. Mr. Horton, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open on ordinance 609. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, I see 2 folks in opposition in the back of the room. Will persons wishing to speak in support please come forward to the podium? Persons in opposition will speak after those speaking in support. Okay, go ahead, sir. You're recognized.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is John Gore. I'm a principal with Bard Civil Associates located at 6606 Charlotte Pike. This rezoning request is an amendment to the original SP that was approved at Silo Bend Development in 2016. The original SP had 4 different residential parcels, 3 of which have been successfully developed and are now occupied by residents. The last undeveloped residential parcel is 6.1 acres that's situated between the Cumberland River and 54th Avenue. This request is to allow for 1 additional story of height from 4 stories to 5 stories and for an increase in density up to 320 units. We've been working closely with metro agencies during the planning approval process, and this amendment was recommended for approval by all agencies. The Planning Department determined that this request was consistent with the goals of the original SP, which includes supporting infill housing development and providing a range of housing choices. NDOT also reviewed the plans and approved the traffic study, which includes both pedestrian and traffic signal improvements at 51st Avenue and Centennial Boulevard. The development team has worked closely with the surrounding neighbors, including meetings with the nation's neighborhood associations Planning and Zoning Committee in February of this year, who recommended approval of this project. We're excited to move forward with the final residential parcel in this development and build on 10 years of work to finish out the original vision of the Silo Bend development. We appreciate your approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, speaking in support.
My name is Lucas Watson. I'm here with my brother Drew Watson, and we've got a market, the Silo Market in the Nations, which would be much helped by this resolution. This is we're talking about 1 floor added to this already previously approved development, and we are seeing business after business close in the Nations and struggle. And this would be helpful by adding this density and helping the small businesses. And I know it's also something the residents of the neighborhood would also be benefited and appreciate by. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in support of this bill? Okay, seeing none, will persons seeking to speak in opposition please come forward to the podium if you choose to speak. Okay, we had some hand raised, but those folks are not seeking to speak. Okay, and so with that, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Mr. Horton, for a motion on your bill.
Thank you. I'd like to move for approval, please.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this has passed its second of 3 readings. Okay, next is agenda item 7, ordinance BL 2024-610, sponsor cash. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from CS to SP zoning for properties located at 2501, 2503, 2503B, and 2505 12th Avenue South at the southwest corner of 12th Avenue South and Beechwood Avenue. This is 0.73 acres to permit a mixed-use development. Councilman Cash, you are recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open on Bill 610. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Somebody is doing a back and forth in between. Okay. So given that, do you seek to speak? Or okay, so if you're going to speak in opposition, then I need to acknowledge the people who are here in support. But if you don't seek to speak, folks, of course, can speak in support, but do not have to do so. Okay. All right. So we've seen those in support, and we've spoken with the person who was kind of in a middling place. But seeing no one here seeking to be recognized to speak on this matter, is that correct? Okay. I will declare the public hearing closed. And it's back to you, Mr. Cash, for a motion on your bill.
Thank you. I'd like to move approval with a brief comment.
Okay, go ahead, sir. Is there a second on that motion to approve? Okay.
Thanks. I'm excited about this. It's a mixed-use project with an emphasis on local. And I thought it was a good SP to negotiate. I think we've gotten some good things. I think there's still, and we've gotten a few emails today, I think there's still a few things I need to work out, but I will do so by 3rd reading and would like to move approval.
Okay, there is a motion to approve. It is properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of approval on 2nd reading, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this has passed its 2nd of 3 readings. And as Councilman Cash said, all this legislation is amendable on 3rd. Okay. Next is agenda item 8, ordinance BL 2024-611, sponsor Toombs. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by applying a corridor overlay district to various properties located east of Tucker Road and north of Young's Lane. This is 1.6 acres. Councilwoman Toombs, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Request to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open for Bill 611. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in support or in opposition seeking to be recognized, I will declare the public hearing closed. And it's back to you, Ms. Toombs, for a motion on your bill.
Move for approval.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of this bill on second of 3 readings, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this is past second reading. Okay, next is agenda item 9, ordinance BL 2024-612, sponsor Horton. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from R40 to MULANS zoning for property located at 6505 Charlotte Pike, approximately 260 feet east of Hillwood Boulevard. This is 0.48 acres. Mr. Horton, you are recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open on ordinance 612. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, I see some opposition in the back. Let's see. So, given that, will persons wishing to speak in support, please come forward first to the podium. Persons in opposition will speak after those speaking in support. Go ahead, sir, you're recognized.
Thank you. Patrick Napier, 2002 Richard Jones Road. We're working with a council member to convert the rezone to an SP to offer some more conditions and some more control to our neighbors. We're going to include some additional conditions for buffering and also preclude and prohibit some uses. So we feel that that should bring this even more in line with the policy and still be consistent with Planning Commission's recommendation of approval. Thank you.
Okay. Are you speaking in support as well? Go ahead, sir.
Speaking in support, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Vice Mayor, Clerk, and council members, thank you for coming out today and being here and being in service for our community. I'm Matthew Eads. I'm the property owner. I've owned the property for 10 years and I've been working closely with Councilman Horton on this, and I appreciate his collaboration with the neighborhood. We've collaborated with our adjoining neighbors, and I believe we've come up with a good plan with this SP to restrict the site, albeit that the community plan suggests that the existing zoning without the SP would be suitable. But we're in agreement with Council Horton's recommendations, and we appreciate your support.
Okay. Is anyone else seeking to speak in support? Okay. Seeing none, will those persons who raised their hand in opposition, if you are seeking to speak, please come forward. Go ahead, ma'am. If you'll need to step to the podium and the mic there, and just make sure the mic is close to you so we can hear you. Go ahead.
My name is Sarah Boyd.
Would you step forward just a little bit, ma'am, just so we can make, thank you.
Thank you. I'm Sarah Boyd. I live at 849 Rustleo Drive. I am opposed to this being changed completely, but at the same time, the plan has been that all of Charlotte Avenue be rezoned to commercial property. This is a piece of property in our neighborhood. It faces Charlotte along with another house that's a corner house. And I live the fourth house back. I live behind a piece of property that's already commercial on Hillwood. If any of you know about Chick-fil-A and the home store and the intersection at Hillwood and Charlotte, you know that any entrance or exit from this piece of property is going to be pretty crazy and add another dimension. We're asking, we would like for it to only be a one-story building. It's been approved by planning for a three-story because the whole area is approved for that. We would like for that to be brought down for sure. Because of the lay of the land, it's less than a half an acre. There's a lot of good reasons why. We already have 3 or 4 dumpsters in our backyard, and this will add another one. We understand that Councilman Horton has been working, trying to make this agreeable, and he did meet with us. And we're hoping that you will not put a nightclub or tattoo parlor or things of that sort there. We'd ask for an SP. We'd like for it to be designated so that just anything could not be put there in those buildings. And we understand that the owners had it for a long time and has been waiting for a long time to change it to a commercial piece of property. Thank you for listening. It doesn't have to be approved to be commercial just because everything else goes that way. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Do those folks who raised their hand in opposition, yeah. So once this gets rolling, y'all just come on forward, be ready near to the podium so we can keep it moving. Thank you so much. You're recognized.
Check, check. Okay. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity to speak. I am Dr. Emily Woodward, and I also live on Rusleo Drive. For those of you who are not aware about this little part of Hillwood Heights, it is a tiny little sort of enclave, right? It is nothing like any of the rest of that area, residentially speaking. However, it is a residential area, and as my neighbor Sarah pointed out, despite the fact that commercialization along Charlotte, which we are not opposed to in general, is obviously a fact of life. The specific area that we are speaking of narrows down on Charlotte. It is not a big 4-lane highway like you're used to up here. It is doesn't even have a turn lane in the middle or a shoulder. It is a hazard as it is, and any further augmentation of traffic volume through what is basically a bottleneck would be even more hazardous for the residents that are there. So that is the main issue. It is one of safety, I would say. It is also one of character. It is the type of neighborhood that people move to Nashville for. And we demand, frankly, buffer areas between us and the rest of the commercial aspects that are coming down Charlotte, and would hope to see that the city of Nashville will impose reasonable and logical restrictions on further development of that piece of property in the interest of preserving the peace, which was the theme for this year, the peace of us residents who are there.
Thank you. Does the other gentleman seek to be recognized? Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I'm Keith Wallace. I live on Rusleo Drive as well. This bill requests mixed-use, high-intensity use for this property. This property is in a neighborhood of single-family homes and duplexes on the edge of the neighborhood. This bill does not remain consistent with the existing neighborhood, and once this is done, it can't be undone. I restate, high-intensity use is not consistent with the existing neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else seek to be recognized in opposition? Okay, seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Councilmember Horton.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move for approval with a brief comment, please.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, go ahead, sir.
I'd like to, first of all, thank my constituents for being here today and for their engagement and involvement in this issue, as well as welcoming me into their home to meet with the neighbors and discuss this rezoning. Appreciate them sharing how this can be improved and for purposes of accomplishing those wishes. We have a substitute bill today which implements or addresses some of the concerns that the neighborhood has, such as limiting height, limiting the more noxious uses, such as a bar or nightclub, ensuring that there's buffering requirements, the dumpster has to be shielded from view, that ingress and egress is limited to Charlotte and not on the neighborhood street. This is all accomplished in the substitute bill that's on this, and with those comments, I would like to move the substitute, please.
Okay, Mr. Horton has made a motion to substitute. You've heard a description of the substitute. Is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this substitute? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the motion to substitute, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, so the substitute is on the bill, sir, and if you'd renew your motion.
And I'd like to move the bill as substituted, please.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, any discussion on the bill as substituted? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this has passed its second of 3 readings as substituted. Okay, next is agenda item 10, ordinance BL 2024-616, sponsor Toombs. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from R8 to SP zoning for a portion of property located at 858 West Trinity Lane, approximately 500 feet west of Horizon Drive. This is 6.3 acres to permit 254 multifamily residential units. Councilwoman Toombs, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Request to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing for 616 to be open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay, would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, do those persons here in support wish to speak? Ms. Toombs, they are shaking their head no, and so with that, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you.
Thank you. Request for, move for approval.
Okay, is there a second? Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this has passed its second of 3 readings. Next is agenda item 11, ordinance BL 2024-617. This is sponsors Gamble and Rutherford. This is an ordinance to amend chapters 17.04 and 17.12 of Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code to provide housekeeping amendments related to the conservation development. Vice Chair of Planning and Zoning, Mr. Rutherford, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. Open the public hearing, please.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing none on either side, Councilman Rutherford, I declare the public hearing closed, and it is back to you for a motion on your bill.
Move approval.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill on second reading? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this has passed its second of 3 readings. Next on our agenda is item 12, ordinance BL 2024-618, sponsor Coupon. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by expanding the urban zoning overlay district for various properties located south of Interstate 65, west of Interstate 24, and east of the Cumberland River, generally located along Cowan Street, from Interstate 65 to Cowan Court, zoned MUI-A and IG, and located within River North Urban Design Overlay. This is 59.71 acres. Councilman Coupon, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. Open the public hearing, please.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open for ordinance 618. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one on either side, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Mr. Coupon, for a motion on your bill.
I believe I'd like to move approval, please.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor please say aye. Any voting no? Or abstaining? Okay. This has passed its second of 3 readings. Next is agenda item 13, ordinance BL 2024-620, sponsor Taylor. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from RS5 to R6A zoning for property located at 2400 Mary Street, approximately 212 feet south of Booker Street, and located within a detached accessory dwelling unit overlay, DADU district. This is 0.22 acres. Councilman Taylor, you're recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open a public hearing, please.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open on Ordinance 620. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay, thank you, sir. See you back there. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing none, does the gentleman in support seek to be recognized? He is shaking his head no, Councilman Taylor. And so with that, I declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you on your bill.
Thank you. Move for approval.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill? Okay, all in favor of approval on second reading of 620, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this is passed its second of 3 readings. Next is agenda item 14, ordinance BL 2024-621, sponsor Kimbrough. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from RS15 to RM9-NS zoning for property located at 4212 Ashland City Highway. This is approximately 83 feet north of Clintondale Drive, and it is 0.53 acres. Councilwoman Kimbrough, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay. I declare the public hearing open on ordinance 621. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay, thank you. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, does the gentleman here in support seek to be recognized? He is shaking his head no, Ms. Kimbrough, and so with that, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you on your bill.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move for approval with a brief comment.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. All right. This property was approved by the Planning Commission to be rezoned from RS15 to RM9NS. After we had a community meeting, the community was opposed. So at that time, I agreed to support it if it was downzoned. And so that's what I did. And when it went back to planning, because it went from a NS to an R10, which would be approved for owner occupied, they technically had to disapprove it. So I'm asking, and I think did I say that correctly?
Would you like me to recognize the planning table?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Milligan for the planning department to clarify, please, ma'am.
Sure. So it has not gone back to the Planning Commission at this point, but the recommendation from the Planning Commission was to approve RM9NS. If you substitute it to a district that permits uses that were not considered by the Planning Commission, then the Planning Commission recommendation would just be considered a disapproval.
Okay.
So it doesn't actually go back to the Planning Commission. It would just be considered a disapproval only because of the owner-occupied short-term rentals. It is less density, and typically, if you're going to less density, it does not change the recommendation. So this one is just a little bit odd because of that one use.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I appreciate the explanation.
Okay. I misunderstood when thank you. Okay.
All good.
All right.
So at this time, there is a motion to approve, properly seconded. Do you seek to move your substitute?
I'd like to move the substitute.
Okay, there's a motion to substitute. Is there a second? Okay. Do you want to further describe the substitute at this time?
The substitute would just be the R10.
Got it. Okay. Is there any discussion on the substitute, the motion to substitute? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the substitute, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, so back to you for a motion to approve as substituted.
Okay, I'd like to move the bill as substitute.
Okay, is there a second? All right, any discussion on this bill on second reading as substituted? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this is passed its second of 3 readings as substituted, Ms. Kimbrough. Okay. Agenda item 15, ordinance BL 2024-622, sponsor Toombs, is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from R8 to IWD zoning for properties located at 405 and 407 Haney Avenue and Haney Avenue unnumbered, approximately 290 feet west of Brick Church Pike. This is 0.54 acres. Councilwoman Toombs. Oh, there you are. You are recognized on 622.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Request to open the public hearing.
Okay. I declare the public hearing on ordinance 622 open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Thank you, sir. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Seeing no one here in opposition, does the gentleman in support seek to be recognized to speak? He is nodding his head vigorously no. And so I will then declare the public hearing closed. And it's back to you, Ms. Toombs, for motion on your bill.
Thank you. Move for approval.
Is there a second? Okay. It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, 622 has passed its second of 3 readings. Okay, our last item on public hearing is agenda item 16. This is ordinance BL 2024-623. Sponsor was Ms. Ewing. Colleagues, has anyone signed on? Okay, okay, and with Ms. Hill signed on as a co-sponsor at this time. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from R40 to RS20 zoning for property located at 2221 Old Hickory Boulevard, approximately 396 feet east of Middleton Park Lane. This is 7.93 acres. Co-sponsor Hill, you are now recognized. It's okay.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I move to defer this for 2 months to the first meeting in February the 4th, 2025.
Okay. You have heard that motion. Is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. This is a motion to defer 623 to the first meeting in February.
Correct.
For public hearing at that time. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, 623 is deferred for public hearing to the first meeting in February. And with that, we have concluded the public hearing portion of our agenda. All right, so next we're just going to roll right into our consolidated consent agenda. This is section K, all resolutions and second and third reading ordinances on this agenda are included on the consent agenda if recommended for approval unanimously by all committees to which the item was referred. Items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. The item number, along with the resolution and ordinance number of the items on the consent agenda, will be read by me for the record. And members of council may remove any item from the consent agenda by request before the consent agenda vote is taken. Okay? All right. So the first item proposed for the consent agenda is agenda item 19, resolution 2024-854. Next is agenda item 21, resolution 2024-855. 2024-879. Agenda item 22, resolution 2024-880. Agenda item 23, resolution 2024-881. Agenda item 25, resolution 2024-883. Agenda item 26, resolution 2024-884. Agenda item 27, resolution 2024-885. Agenda item 28, resolution 2024-886. Agenda item 29, resolution 2024-887. Agenda item 30, resolution 2024-888. Agenda item 31, resolution 2024-889. Agenda item 32, resolution 2024-890. Agenda item 34, resolution 2024-892. Agenda item 35, resolution 2024-893. Agenda item 36, resolution 2024-894. Agenda item 37, resolution 2024-895. Agenda item 38, resolution 2024-896. Agenda item 39, resolution 2024-897. Agenda item 40, resolution 2024-898. Agenda item 48, or rather 41, resolution 2024-899. Agenda item 42, resolution 2024-900. Agenda item 43, resolution 2024-901. Agenda item 44, resolution 2024-902. Agenda item 45, resolution 2024-903. Agenda item 46, resolution 2024-904. Agenda item 48, resolution 2024-906. Agenda item 49, resolution 2024-907. Agenda item 50, resolution 2024-908. Agenda item 51, resolution 2024-909. Okay. Now we're going to move into bills on second reading that has been proposed for the consent agenda. First among those is agenda item 91, ordinance BL 2024-626. Agenda item 92, ordinance BL 2024-627. Agenda item 94, ordinance BL 2024-629. Agenda item 95, ordinance BL 2024-630. Agenda item 96, ordinance BL 2024-631. Agenda item 97, ordinance BL 2024-632. Agenda item 98, ordinance BL 2024-633. Agenda item 99, ordinance BL 2024-634. Agenda item 100, ordinance BL 2024-635. Agenda item 101, ordinance BL 2024-636. Agenda item 102, ordinance BL 2024-637. Okay, next are bills on third reading proposed for the consent agenda. First among those is agenda item 103, ordinance BL 2024-572. And its companion materials bill, agenda item 104, ordinance BL 2024-573. Okay, agenda item 105, ordinance BL 2024-596. Agenda item 106, ordinance BL 2024-597. Agenda item 107, ordinance BL 2024-599. Agenda item 108, ordinance BL 2024-600. Agenda item 109, ordinance BL 2024-601. Agenda item 110, ordinance BL 2024-602. Agenda item 111, ordinance BL 2024-603. Agenda item 112, ordinance BL 2024-604. Agenda item 113, ordinance BL 2024-605. Agenda item 114, ordinance BL 2024-606. Agenda item 115, ordinance BL 2024-607. And that is the last item proposed for consent. Do any items need to be removed from the consent agenda? If so, will members please join the queue to request? Okay. Council Member Kimbrough, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to remove item 21, RS 2024-879 from the consent agenda.
Okay, Ms. Kimbrough has requested the removal of agenda item 21. Resolution 2024-879 has been removed from consent. Okay, Councilmember Welsh, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to remove item number 32 and number 46. I'm going to be no votes on those.
Okay, Ms. Welsh has requested the removal of agenda item 32. That is resolution 2024-890. That is no longer on consent. And I apologize, Ms. Welsh, the subsequent one?
46.
46. Which is resolution 904. And that has also been removed from consent. Next to be recognized, Councilwoman Lee. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to remove number 19, RS 2024-854 from consent.
Okay. Ms. Lee has requested the removal of agenda item 19, resolution 2024-854 has been removed from consent. Okay, Councilwoman Porterfield, Chair, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to remove agenda item number 48, RS 2024-906 from consent.
Okay. Councilwoman Porterfield has requested the removal of agenda item 48, resolution 2024-906. And that has been removed from consent. Okay. Are any other members seeking to remove an item from the consolidated consent agenda? Okay. With that, we will move to committee reports. Okay, and first among those is the report of Budget and Finance Chair Porterfield. Go ahead, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance considered the following items: RS 2024-880, 881, 883, 884, 885, 886, 887, 888, 889, 892, 893, 894, 895, 896, 899, as well as BL 2024-626, BL 2024-627, and BL 2024-630, all passed 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting.
Okay, thank you for the report of the Budget and Finance Committee, Chair. Okay, next for our committee reports is the report of Arts, Parks, Libraries, and Entertainment. Chair Gadd, you're recognized for your committee reports on items on consent.
Thank you so much, Madam President. The Arts, Parks, Libraries, and Entertainment considered RS 2024-885. We approved it 6-0-0. We considered item RS 2024-887. We approved it 6-0-0. We also considered item RS 2024-888, and we approved it 6-0-0.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Okay, next is the report of the Planning and Zoning Committee. Vice Chair Rutherford, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. Planning and Zoning considered RS 2024-880, 886, 897, 900, 901, 902, 903. In addition to BL 2024-627, 629, 630, 631, 632, 633, 634, 635, 636, 637, and BL 572 and 573, voting or recommending in favor 11 to 0 for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Okay, next is the report of the Public Health and Safety Committee. Chair Evans, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Health and Safety considered the following items, and we recommended approval: 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. RS 2024-881, RS 2024-889, 892, and 893. 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, next is the report of the Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee. Chair Prep T, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. We considered RS 2024-907, 908, and 909 and voted 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, and last for our committee reports is the report of Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. Chair Parker, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Transportation and Infrastructure considered resolutions RS 2024-880 as well as 894 through 903. Recommended approval of all of those, 11 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting. Also considered bills on second reading, BL 2024-627, as well as 629 through 637. Also recommended approval of all of those, 11 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting. And with all committee reports being in, I will move the consolidated consent calendar.
Okay, it's properly moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on the consolidated consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, you have passed all items on the consolidated consent agenda. Okay. Okay, now we will go back to resolutions that were not on consent and move through those in order. Okay, first among those is agenda item 17, RS 2024-791, sponsors Porterfield, Evans, Benton, and Huffman. Chair Porterfield, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to withdraw with a brief explanation.
Go ahead, ma'am. Very brief, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank colleagues. You should have gotten an email in your inbox this week from the Police and Public Safety Alliance saying that they were going to withdraw this legislation with regards to giving the funding to Zen City. And the reason why they gave that is because, you know, there were community concerns, alternatives were presented, and I just wanted to publicly acknowledge and thank them for moving in the way that we should move. When we hear community concerns, we need to put the brakes on things, and we need to consider what this looks like and consider alternatives. So I just wanted to thank them for withdrawing this legislation at this time.
Okay, and you have withdrawn that resolution. Okay. Next is agenda item 18, RS 2024-792, sponsors Porterfield, Evans, Hancock, Webb, Stiles, and Huffman. This is a resolution approving amendment number 3 to a sole source contract between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County and Fusus LLC to increase the value, extend the term, and utilize the full scope of work, including surveillance technology. Ms. Porterfield, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to move for approval for the purposes of discussion.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, this is properly moved and seconded. Ms. Porterfield, it's back to you if there's anything that you want to say while you have the floor.
I will speak on it after we consider the substitute, Vice Mayor.
Okay, so is your intent to move to the substitute?
My intent is to allow Councilmember Evans to move the substitute. I believe she's moving the substitute.
Okay, we can do that. So it's the bill is properly before us, and you just want to speak generally on it before I recognize Ms. Evans next in the queue.
No, ma'am. If the substitute goes on, I'll speak on the bill after we consider the substitute.
All right. Chair Evans, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move the substitute, please.
Okay, it's properly moved and seconded. Okay, Ms. Evans, anything that you want to say regarding the substitute before we move into discussion?
Yes, could we get an explanation from the administration on the substitute as proposed?
Okay, happy to do so. Who seeks to be recognized? Okay, Mr. Rosenberg for the administration, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Dave Rosenberg for Mayor O'Connell's office. So this is the substitute that we talked about introducing at the last meeting, the reason for the deferral today. It does 3 things. The first thing is it inserts a clause that allows the contract to be immediately terminated if any kind of change in state, federal law, statute, directive, executive order, anything along those lines leads to the possibility of misuse or would allow for that kind of use. That termination can be done immediately. It can be done either by the Department of Law, Metro Police, or by a majority vote of the Metropolitan Council. The second is that it explicitly prohibits the use of facial recognition artificial intelligence. Facial recognition is already prohibited under Metro Ordinance. This puts it in the contract again. That becomes non-preemptible. The third thing it does is it prohibits Fusus from unilaterally modifying its terms of use. and ensures that oversight remains with this body. It still remains true that it's a 2-year contract extension. It still remains true that council has the right to, and Metro retain the right to terminate that contract as we see fit.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Ms. Evans, it's back to you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I spoke quite a bit at the last meeting on the specific legislation, and I think that we have, a wide variety of diverse perspectives and opinions and constituencies in this room. And my representation and kind of focus on affirming this legislation is really based on my experience as well. I think we see in my community, the conversation about cameras tends to come after something tragic has occurred. Victims coming forward who have needed support from the council. And so this is something specific to this, the terms of this extension and kind of what we're focused on here is one of the reasons why I wanted to defer last time. So thank you very much.
Okay, so we are on the motion to substitute, okay? Mr. Bradford, are you seeking to speak on the substitute? Oh, I'm sorry, sir, go ahead.
This may be a point of inquiry.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
This is directed towards the administration. Just to clarify, in the substitute where you're mentioning basically a kill switch, that's in the contract with Fuses, correct? Therefore, nothing at the state or federal level could preempt what's in a contract between the city and a private company.
Okay, you're recognized, Mr. Rosenberg.
Thank you, Madam President. That's correct.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay. Okay, we remain on the motion to substitute. Mr. Nash, do you seek to be recognized on the substitute, sir?
I do, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead. You're recognized.
I want to support the substitute. We did have a community meeting here, speak on Fuses, and there were a lot of concerns, and I think we're legitimate. And I know people are scared given the results of the national election. I assure you that it's not somebody I voted for either, but we have to move forward with doing things that are right for this city. So I agree with the safeguards that have been put in place in the substitute, and I hope we'll support it.
Okay. Ms. Welsh, do you seek to be recognized on the motion to substitute? Oh, okay. Hang on. Go ahead. You're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have some real concerns even about the substitute. I have, as you know, concerns about the legislation as a whole, but also about the substitute, and particularly that what they are calling the kill switch, because my understanding is that kill switch would actually cut off Metro's access to the data, but it doesn't cut off Axon's access to the data, which means that any outside agency could still get access to that data that we would no longer have access to. So I don't think that that actually provides the safeguard that the administration is trying to tell us that it provides. And that I think that's something that we need to very seriously consider in this legislation as a whole, but particularly in this substitute, because that is not actually offering a layer of protection. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Benedict, are you seeking to be recognized on the substitute? No. Ms. Suara on the motion to substitute. Okay.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. A question to the legal department. Can Metro, if there's a directive from the federal or state government, can a Metro department go against that order?
Ms. Suara, if you'll please address the chair and Metro Legal. Ms. Amos, are you going to respond? You're recognized.
Sure. In a hypothetical situation, are you talking about Metro Police go against a directive?
Metro Police, Metro government, Metro. Yes.
So I think the police department and the district attorney's office have some ability to decide what crimes they're going to enforce. If there's some sort of federal directive, we would comply with that in this hypothetical. Also, the contract can be terminated by you all, by the mayor's office, by the police department, by the legal department. So there are ways to. So yeah. Say in this hypothetical, if
I got it.
If there was a directive that the police department didn't agree with, we could terminate the contract.
Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you for the explanation. And I want to go back to what Council Lady Welch also said about who has access to data and who can still get data and all of that. I appreciate the administration's effort in trying to address some of the concerns, but I think this amendment is just a feel-good amendment so that people would substitute.
Yep. Because
It's a feel-good substitute, so people think, oh, we're doing something, let's move our eyes from the ball. I'll say let's vote this down and kill the bill entirely. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Cortez, do you seek to be recognized on the substitute, sir? Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have a question for the administration. Could they clarify they stated that Axion could not change the terms of the agreement unilaterally. Does that give this body an opportunity to speak into any changes that they would request?
Okay. I will address that to Mr. Rosenberg. You're recognized, sir.
Yes, it would. And I'll add that Fusus is not a data platform. There is no data for anybody to obtain. The only data that is stored by Fusus is video that was retained because it's part of a crime. There is no data to retain or to fall into the wrong hands.
Quiet, please.
Thank you.
Quiet in the gallery for the purposes of debate, okay? People need to hear the details. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Cortez, does that answer your question?
Yes, Vice Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Ms. Benedict, not on the substitute. Ms. Porterfield on the motion to substitute. Okay, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have a clarifying question that I'm going to ask you that hopefully Director Darby can possibly answer. Do we have any current state law that says that we have to comply with if ICE comes and asks for any type of information? Is there a current state law that says that we as a Metro government have to comply with that request?
Okay. Ms. Darby, do you want to respond to that, or Metro Legal? Okay. Special Counsel Darby, you are recognized.
TCA Section 768-105 does require that law enforcement agencies comply or communicate with federal officials and cooperate with federal officials.
Thank you, Director Darby. I'm a little confused by an answer that we just got a few moments ago. The question was, my interpretation of the question was, can the state or federal government interfere with a private contract between Metro and a private company? And we were just told that state cannot interfere with that, but we're also being told that state can say that we have to comply with ICE. And I guess I'm a little confused because I'm thinking about previous pieces of legislation that we've looked at when we wanted to do certain initiatives to maybe support marginalized communities. And we were told, well, state law says you can't do this, but you can put it in based on a zip code, or you can put it in based on a community, but you can't put it in based on, let's say, like a racial ethnicity or something like that. So in that instance, we're being told state law can tell us that we can't dictate something between us and another entity, but now we're being told that state law can. So maybe I'm confused because Director Darby's shaking her head no. So if I could get an explanation on that, I would appreciate it.
Okay, Special Counsel Darby, can you respond?
Yeah, just to clarify, and hopefully this clarifies it, the state law does say that the law enforcement agencies have to cooperate with the federal officials, but it doesn't say that federal officials can come in and change our contracts or interfere with our contracts. So if we had a scenario, kind of what was being discussed earlier, where a state official came in and wanted the cooperation from the law enforcement agency, and if this were passed and the law enforcement agency thought that that cooperation would violate a policy or contract, then we would be able to cancel the agreement under the terms of the legislation and the agreements.
Thank you, Director Darby. And just one last follow-up. In that example, it was if the law enforcement agency thought something. So that gives a lot of agency to the individual as to if they perceive that this was a violation as opposed to something that directly would stop it. So those are questions and concerns that I have about the substitute. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Porterfield. Ms. Kimbrough, are you seeking to be recognized on the motion to substitute, on the substitute? Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just want to say this, even on the substitute, and I know there may have been good intentions, maybe, I don't know, but I don't think this is something we can play around with. There are no amount of safeguards that we can put on this because so much is dependent on human behavior and human self-reporting. I don't think you can legislate human behavior. When you say if you violate or if you do this, that, or the other, we're dependent on someone to make a report, or we're dependent on someone, really a self-report. It's almost like grading your own paper. We're depending on people to say, hey, this was wrong or that was wrong. But because of the harm it can cause, I just don't think this is something that we can play around with. And I just encourage everyone to vote down the substitute, vote down the bill, not even entertain it. We can't even entertain this. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Vo on the substitute. Okay, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. I just had a question for the administration about how we plan to ensure that the FUSIS technology will not be abused by MMPD. So can we get some clarity on that?
Mr. Rosenberg, you're recognized to respond to Councilmember Vo's question.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilmember, it depends on which portion of FUSIS you're talking about. I'm guessing you're talking about the community video portion?
That and the auditing.
Okay,
Both.
community video and auditing.
Thank you.
So the community video, whenever it's accessed, the business is provided that information immediately. They get the notification of what the service call is and what it is. So there's not secrecy there. As for a wider look at it, that would be included in the auditing information, which could be publicly reviewed.
Thank you so much for that. So we saw that records obtained in Chicago regarding their FUSIS technology had massive gaps in the auditing system. So I'm just wondering, how are we going to ensure that we are going to actually address that when and if it happens?
Okay, is that a question?
That is a question,
okay.
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg, for the administration, can you respond to the question about potential gaps in the audit and how that would be addressed?
Absolutely, Madam President. That would amount to misuse of this, and violating that means an opportunity to end the program if we were to find that it were being, information wasn't being provided as the policy on the date of execution calls for.
Okay, Ms. Vo?
Great, thank you so much. And then, so how are we going to confirm, like, if, you know, who is checking the checker? I would say it's similar to what Councilmember Kimbrough was saying. So how do we check that, you know, and if there are massive gaps, who is going to call and be the second, I would say, tier of clarifying that if it happens, right?
Okay, the checking protocol, Mr. Rosenberg.
I would say that's public record, and the council should pursue that information at its leisure and ensure that it's being accurately represented, or that there aren't gaps, I should say.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Johnston, do you seek to be recognized on the substitute? Go ahead, ma'am.
Previous question.
Okay. There is a motion to call the previous question. Is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. This is a non-debatable motion. So if you want to end debate on the motion to substitute, you would vote in favor of the previous question. If you want to continue debate on the motion to substitute, you would vote no. It requires 2/3 of those voting. We'll try it by voice first. All in favor of calling the previous question, please say aye. Any voting no? Okay, I think the previous question prevails. And so we will move to the vote on the motion to substitute. Mr. Clerk, let's do this by machine, please, sir. Okay, colleagues, this is the motion to substitute. Okay, with all votes in, Mr. Clerk, please show the vote on the motion to substitute. Okay, the motion to substitute passes. So the substitute is now on the bill. As such, the substitute is now controlled by sponsor Evans. Ms. Evans, you are recognized at this time.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd also like to move the amendment, please.
Okay, is there a second to the motion to amend? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Okay, so we are now on a motion to amend the bill as substituted. And we properly seconded, and so we're moving to discussion on the amendment. Ms. Evans, do you want to share anything about the amendment, or you have the floor for discussion?
Yes, so in reading the amendment, which basically provides some more guidelines around the definition of misuse, I thought it seemed like a reasonable amendment to add that spoke to some community concerns, and think it would be appropriate to add it to the substitute legislation.
Okay. All right. So we are on a motion to amend with the amendment in your packet and offered by Ms. Stiles. Ms. Welsh, do you seek to be recognized on the motion to amend? Okay. Ms. Benedict on the motion to amend. Mr. Nash on the motion to amend. Ms. Porterfield on the motion to amend. Okay. Is anyone else seeking to be recognized on the motion to amend? Oh, Ms. Allen, go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam President. Could we just get a statement from the legal team that there are, to me, the amendment seemed like it just restated very clearly things that are already not allowed. I just would like to hear that there are no unintended consequences from a legal mind.
Okay, Ms. Amos, on behalf of the legal department,
Sure.
go ahead.
As you know, our office did not draft the amendment. I have reviewed it. I am not aware of any unintended consequences from it.
Okay, Ms. Allen, that's sufficient there. Okay. Anyone else seeking to be recognized? Okay, Ms. Allen, I'm sorry. I now see why I did not see you. And Ms. Sepulveda, I apologize. I had to move through the queue for people who were not seeking to be recognized on the amendment. And the queue doesn't show me when there's somebody below my visible line of sight. So subsequent to asking Ms. Porterfield about the desire to speak on the motion to amend, you were next. Do you seek to be recognized on the motion to amend? Okay. Ms. Stiles, do you seek to be recognized on the motion to amend? Okay, go ahead, Ms. Stiles.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Actually, the sponsor of the bill handled what the amendment is, and I'll leave it right there.
Okay. Ms. Suara, do you seek to be recognized on the motion to amend? Okay. Mr. Huffman on the motion to amend. Okay. Mr. Parker on the motion to amend. Mr. Parker, do you seek to be recognized on the motion to amend? Ms. Gadd, do you seek to be recognized on the motion to amend? Okay. I've gone through the queue in order. Just to be double careful, are there any colleagues seeking to be recognized on the motion to amend? Okay. Seeing none, we will move to the vote. I think we can try this one by voice. It requires a simple majority. All in favor of the motion to amend, please say aye. Any voting no? Any abstaining? Okay, the amendment is on the bill. So Ms. Evans, it is back to you for a revised motion on the bill as substituted and amended. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'd like to move approval on the substituted and amended legislation.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, now what is before us is an approval motion on the bill as substituted and amended. Now I will go back to the top of the queue again. Ms. Welsh, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I rise in opposition to the bill as substituted and amended and whatever else we've done to it. I don't think that you can put lipstick on a pig, and I don't think anything is going to make this bill better for the citizens of Nashville. I wanted to respond to something that the administration table said before about abuse of this technology and the kind of dismissal of that as this is only when there is an active crime occurring. But there's always a question as to who actually calls in the crime, whether that is officer initiated or whether that is citizen initiated, and an avenue to abuse is officers initiating a call for a crime so that they can access footage from someone's camera and take any action that they wish, saying that they are actually responding to a call for assistance. So that's kind of a red flag for me. I already mentioned the idea about the kill switch. Still, outside agencies can get to data that we can't get to, including video that still exists. But overall, I just feel like this bill is just one more step on a very, very slippery slope. In my 5 years here in Metro Council, MNPD has come to us many, many, many times asking for new tools and more money and more things. And over the 5 years that I've been in council, we have gotten more and more of a surveilled city. And we do these things, each little individual thing, we say, oh, there's no problem. We have safeguards. We have this, we have that. We don't have clear lines to make sure and assure that those safeguards are actually followed and there's actual accountability and punishment for people who abuse them. We've seen that throughout the history of MNPD in my term on council. And I feel like there are still too many holes here. I know I get the argument all the time, well, we've already been using it. Well, MNPD was already using it illegally in violation of what the council said. So right there, we can't really necessarily just take everything that MNPD says as if it is sacrosanct and true. So I just really would like my colleagues to think very carefully about what this means as yet again we vote for yet another thing that gives more and more power to a halfway unaccountable department within Metro. We can stop this. We should stop this. We can find other ways to do what they say that this legislation does. And I just feel like it's just very important that we listen to the people, and the vast majority of people that we have heard from don't want this for very valid reasons. Last meeting when we deferred this, I mentioned that the vote in committee for this piece of legislation, all the white folk voted for it and every person of color voted against it because they know what this type of system can mean for their life and their future. So I ask my colleagues to please vote this down. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Nash, on the bill to approve. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Some of you that are here for the second term may remember that the first bill that I offered to this council was a resolution asking the federal government to pass immigration reform and provide for a path for citizenship. I understand, I represent a large number of the immigrant community in District 27 and its adjoining states, and I swear to you, I would not do a thing to pass this bill if I thought it was going to be discriminatory to anybody. This
Please
Joe's
be seated in the gallery.
hardware store.
Please be seated in the
Joe's
gallery.
hardware store alarm goes off. There's a phone call, a robbery's occurred. Instead of the police department having to go hunt up the owner of the store, get the video, bring it back to the station for viewing and determine if there's a good description or a vehicle they got into or a direction of flight, all we're doing with this software, this technology, is sending a little virtual man down a wire to go grab the video and bring it back to the department. And that's the only thing that gets saved at the police department. It is not a tracking technology. It is not a tracking technology. It doesn't know, when it takes that picture, it doesn't know your immigration status. It doesn't know if you're gay or straight, rich or poor. It is completely precision policing and hopefully informed policing to give our policemen help. Now, in my district, recently we've had a murder in a park. We had another murder in April. And I can tell you that, yes, we've had a lot of people here speak against it, but they do not represent the majority of the members of my community, my district, that I have talked to, seen on Facebook, seen on Nextdoor. They want these cameras. They know how valuable it could be to the police department. And I'm asking all of you, this is not going to be ICE can't use this for anything. It's a picture. It's a picture. It doesn't tell anything about your immigration status, your sexual preferences, or your economic status. It is just good, objective data. Please.
Okay, next in the queue, Ms. Porterfield, do you seek to be recognized on the bill? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm rising in opposition to FUSES, and I have a few things that I just wanted to share. This has been one of the toughest pieces of legislation that I've worked on in the 5 years that I've been here on the City Council. I've made 3 different visits to the center. I sat there with members from the Community Oversight Board, members with the MHRC, with directors, with community members. I've spoken to people in the immigrant community. I have run the gambit. I've spoken with MMPD. I have thought through every single what-if scenario possible about what this can and cannot do. And me, a person that everyone would just assume that I would completely be against this, a person that has stated publicly many times that I'm against surveillance and I'm against government surveillance, and I have been on the fence about this piece of legislation from learning what it does and what it does not do. And the thing that really pushed me to vote against this was in our last meeting, which you all know that I wasn't here for the last meeting, but I was home watching that meeting, and someone made the comment of, even if you trust MMPD to do everything that they said that they're going to do, and you trust them to follow their own policies, like, what if we get this wrong? What if there is a mistake that we have not calculated for, and that mistake could then lead to the separations of families? And that's not something that I can live.
Hold, please. Mr. Rutherford, do you have a point of order? I'm sorry, Mr. Rutherford. Good night. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
I cannot hear back here because of colleagues that are talking.
Okay.
So I'd like from your position to please call that out so that members can hear the debate.
Okay. It is important for our colleagues to be able to hear. You all may continue your conversation, but I would ask you to please do so quietly or to the side so as not to impair a member's hearing of what Ms. Porterfield or other colleagues are saying. Okay? Okay. Go ahead. Please continue, Ms. Porterfield.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So regardless of if you believe that MMPD will stand by their own policies, what I don't have trust in is with the incoming administration, what policies can and cannot change. What is legal today may not be legal in 6 months, and that is very concerning. My colleague just mentioned about data being objective. Data can be objective, but data can also be manipulated, and we saw that with the pilot for license plate readers that were supposed to be evenly distributed through the county, but they were disproportionately clustered in Black and brown communities. So it's not about data being objective, it's about how we're using that data. And ultimately, if you believe, because there are many people in this room that believe that the police are doing an excellent job, and if you think that the police are doing an excellent job, they will keep doing an excellent job without this technology, the same way that they've been doing before they had access to this technology. And privilege means sometimes we don't have to understand somebody else's concern to stand in solidarity with them. And there have been so many times that I have stood up here and said something that was harmful to me as a Black woman or the Black community, and I've had people to tell me that it was not going to be harmful. So the last thing I'm going to do is get up and tell somebody else that even if I don't understand their exact concern, that this is not going to be harmful to them. We've heard from the community overwhelmingly. They said they had concerns. We need to stop, we need to listen, and we need to vote this down. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Okay, next in the queue, Council Member Sepulveda. Madam Pro Tem. You are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I spoke last time on a couple of concerns I had in regards to this legislation, but I wanted to talk specifically about something I found out yesterday morning while reading the Nashville Banner. When we went to the demonstration, we were told over and over again that residents weren't going to be included in fuses. And when I was reading the article, come to find out that apartment complexes and other multifamily units are considered commercial properties, and so they are able to opt in into fuses. I am the only apartment complex, I am the only council member that currently lives in an apartment complex, as far as I know. And in my building, my whole building, everyone who lives there is Latino except for one couple. And the majority of my complex is Latino. So that automatically brought to mind the LPR pilot, where the majority of the cameras were placed in high concentration of minority and low income areas. So if apartment complexes and multifamily units are able to opt in into fuses, that means that minority communities and low income areas are going to be surveilled at higher levels again. That is what we are talking about. And I was hesitant to bring that up again. And I said this in my newsletter because the week after the vote, I actually received a phone call from a person who was telling me that on Nextdoor, they were actually blaming the Latino community for the possibility of not getting cameras. This is much bigger than just my community. This affects a bunch of people. And then they were also bringing up, she also asked me what my age was, which kind of brings to the point that they were probably also talking about my age, which made me feel a little bit old after I told her my age and she didn't have a problem with it. So I guess I finally got old.
Wrap it up, please, Miss.
I just wanted to give some quick statistics as far as renters in districts. These are the districts that have more renters than homeowners in your districts. District 21, 17, 32, 5, 9, 13, 30, and 2. But this does not mean that you all do not have a good portion of renters. No, you all actually have a lot of renters in your district, and this is coming from census data from 2021, and I am happy to share this with you all, and planning could also provide this information for you all. Renters are important, and they are also voters, and homeowners are not the only people that need to be heard.
Thank you, Ms. Sepulveda. Next, Ms. Suara.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I want to start by saying that every single one of us here, even those that are opposing fuses, are interested in security. And somebody said that immigrants are impacted. One of the public commenters said immigrants are the ones that are affected in crime. And yes, if we're affected in crime and we're still saying we don't want fuses, that should say something. I'm going to share 10 points that I believe are facts about fuses. And if I run out of time, hopefully somebody will give me more time to finish it. One, there's no adequate data on fuses and its impact. I've looked online, no one can give you that. Two, the Illinois Answers Project shows that fuses is only helped Chicago to solve 3.5% of its homicide. Chicago has a lot of crime, and they have fuses, and they've only been able to do 3.5. So this technology that we're lifting up so high doesn't do so much. Three, Columbia, Maryland is one of the safest cities in America, and it does not use fuses. Four, in 2018, there was a raid in Tyson factory. I was here for that. I saw it happen and the impact that it has on family. There was a raid on the Kurdish community. During that raid, citizens were taken as well. And so this is not, people think that this is unwarranted fears, but these are things that we know happen, is happening, and will happen. Four, Mike Davis said, and I quoted this last week, we're going to indict the Bidens, pardon the January 6 defendants, deport millions and put kids in cages. It's going to be glorious. They're celebrating putting kids in cages. That's a promise. That's not something hypothetical that we're just worried about something that might happen, but a promise of what will happen. When you also look at it, Phil Williams did a story about white nationalists moving to Greensboro, Tennessee. It's about 90 minutes from Nashville. They're planning to buy 600 acres of land. This is the same group, and I don't typically have notes, but I have to because I don't want to quote it incorrectly. This group opposed the civil rights movement. They believe that women has no right to go to college. And one of their missions is to kick out all immigrants, even those that are already citizens. This is not made up. It's Channel 5. It happened this month or last month. You can Google it. So it's not unwarranted or unnecessary fear of what is going to happen. And one thing that I also wanted to share with all of you is that in July or June summer, when Nazis came to town, everybody got up and said, we will not let this happen. We're going to stand together. We're not going to let anybody be picked up. By appointing, but by approving fuses, you're placing the immigrant community and all other marginalized community on a platter for them to be surveilled, for them to be kicked out, for families to be separated. This is not the Nashville that I know. We usually stand together, and I'm asking you, maybe this would not happen, but I know that what if it does? We are the last defense. I'm going to wrap up this sentence.
Come to your conclusion.
Yes, I'm going to come to the conclusion. I just want you to think about it. You know, everybody was worried about the election. Some of you complained to me. The federal government can do whatever it wants to do, but this is our last chance to be the line of defense, to not make it easy for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Huffman, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Before I start on my remarks, I just have a quick question for the administration, if that's okay. Clarifying question, Councilmember Sepulveda had highlighted cameras in and around apartment complexes. Could you just speak to the contractual obligations for that?
Mr. Rosenberg, you're recognized for the administration.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilmember, they wouldn't be allowed to put anywhere where there's a reasonable expectation of privacy, and the larger point that was made about them not being allowed to, residential cameras are not allowed to become a part of it, which is what the councilmember was referencing prior to that. It would be entrances, exits, parking lots, That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Huffman?
Yep, thank you very much. So there's been some claims too made in regards to ICE is going to come and they're going to demand our data. Except there's one problem with that. The data doesn't reside in FUSIS. Those of us that took tours know that. Those of us that have listened to the administration tell us this. Those of us that have read the contract, we know this. There's no data to access. But let's talk about data just for a minute, or a minute and 43 seconds. In the month of November, Nashville had 555 total victims of violent crime. 11 homicides, 29 rapes, 5 commercial robberies, 71 street robberies, and 439 aggravated assaults. 451 of those are still open. Now, I know what you're going to say. This couldn't have prevented them, right? I hate to tell you this, but somebody that shoots somebody, robs somebody, they're going to do it again, y'all. And if we have a tool that can help the police, if we had a tool that could help
Mr.
the
Huffman,
police.
be sure to address the chair.
Yep. Yep, thank you.
Oh, not the audience. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, just speaking to all of my colleagues. They're very likely to commit another crime. That's not Councilman Huffman's theory. That's a basic theory that's taught in criminal law classes. The incidents that happened in my district at the Hermitage Strike and Spare, the incidents that happened just last week in Councilmember Lee's district, where we had a immigrant shop owner killed by a stray bullet, these are real people in our districts. Real people that still have open crimes. People are on the streets right now that committed these crimes, y'all. We really have to ask ourselves, are we going to allow our businesses to opt in on this voluntary process? Or are we going to get in their way? We have an opportunity tonight to move forward, to show Nashville citizens that we're serious about the growing public safety crisis here in our city. And I'll wrap up by saying public safety is not a partisan issue, or it shouldn't be. We got to get past this anti-police rhetoric, y'all. We've got a city to serve.
Ms. Gadd, you're recognized. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I apologize, Ms. Gadd. Go ahead.
I can just talk to Councilmember Welsh back here. Thank you so much. I do have a question. Madam President, maybe for you, or Director
I can
Darby
direct
or
it.
others.
Yep,
Thank you
go
so
ahead.
much. Currently, the policies that dictate FUSIS, those are handled by MMPD, if I understand that correctly. And are there currently any public notice requirements if those policies are changed?
Do you want to direct the question to a particular person?
I'd like to direct it to whomever you think can answer that.
Okay. Ms. Darby? Okay, Ms. Darby will answer to the best of her ability. If it's insufficient,
Yeah, and I think
we'll go to the
the law
administration.
director of the administration's office may have that information as well.
The policy for MNPD for the community safety camera system, which would cover this, is 12.80. While it is in the extraordinarily large policy manual for the police department, it is also on their website, on the front page of their website. So if it were updated, that website would be updated accordingly.
Is there a public notice when the policy changes?
Ms. Darby, can you answer that question?
I don't know what you mean by public notice. It is posted on the website.
So, but there's not a notice, is there a notice that goes out saying there's going to be a proposed change for the policy that requires feedback, or that we would notice unless we go to the policy page and just happen to see it?
Can anyone at the administration table address if MMPD is updating a public-facing policy, if there is an outbound communication or notice of that update? Mr. Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. First, when they update changes, when they upload a new version of the document, they highlight the changes for easy finding. I know that's not directly your question, but it's a matter of the transparency there. The other part is if they don't have an email list it goes out to, I'm certain that if requested by council, either the mayor's office or MNPD can make that available to you or whatever entity wishes to see it.
I appreciate knowing that we could make that change, that it currently does not exist, that unless you are looking at the page and you're looking for any changes that are happening, we are not getting notified of changes to policy, and those policies are going to be dictating this program. That has happened when we were trying to understand whether or not this actually applies to residential or not. It does apply to residential in those public spaces, entering and exiting just for multifamily. And that is also something that repeatedly asked, we were not informed. I do have some other questions, but I appreciate the administration table and Madam President for taking as much time to get my questions answered. So I'll get back in the queue. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Hill, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I don't know that there's anything that I have put so much time and effort into. I have visited FUSIS. I have spoken to so many police officers, both people that I know, people that are super close friends of mine, and people that are just in high level at MMPD. I've talked to several attorneys. And if you look at it on the outside, it sounds very intuitive. Olivia, the cameras are already there. You're already going to be filmed. And it's only going to be used to catch criminals and bad guys. I stand before you as one of those criminals. I am illegally dressed in women's clothes and dragged. And if some police officer that has a problem with the trans community that has happened in the past, or some other citizen decides that they want to make a comment about something, then a crime has been committed. I will be arrested, and because I'll be arrested for impersonating a woman, I'll be put in jail with men. And that terrifies the heck out of me, because once it happens the second time, then I'll be charged with a felony, which means not only as a combat veteran who put my life on the line for every single person that can hear my voice, I will lose this seat, and I will lose my right to be an American to vote just for being myself. If you listen to all this does is speed up the opportunity for them to get the information that's there. It doesn't do a single solitary thing to prevent crime. And if we want to prevent crime, then let's all buckle together, every single one of us, all 40 of us, and I swear I'll put every ounce of time I've got into this, but let's start working on the social issues. Let's start making a living wage and get more unions for every single person in every single zip code in this county. Let's make sure that there's mental health help and that there's drug abuse help for folks that are addicted to drugs, and that we do the things that are causing the crime and prevent the crime, and stop just throwing mud at the wall and hoping that something sticks and hoping that some people feel better. And I'm sick and tired of the people that have contacted me in the last few days and have laughed at me because of my fear. I am truly scared, and I have had so many of the trans community reach out to me begging me to vote no on this, and I will definitely be voting no.
Thank you. Ms. Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. I acknowledge that fear and agree that we need to do everything we can to protect you and the community that's behind us that has also expressed those fears. We also heard from a person who's part of a group of victims that also live in fear. I've heard from so many emails from people on both sides of this issue. This is one of the most complicated things I've ever dealt with. I appreciate the fact that the mayor has offered a kill switch in an effort to try to acknowledge those very real fears given the federal changes that we see before us. And I am still continuing to struggle with ensuring that I can address the fears of all the people that have to deal with things that shouldn't be, but they are. And so my first question to, I think, someone on the administration table is, how robust is this contract termination clause that we've heard about? Could a judge overrule the fact that we've said we want to terminate that clause, or can we truly depend on that? That's really important.
Ms. Allen, it appears Ms. Amos from Metro Legal is seeking to respond. Is that okay with you?
Good for me.
Okay. Ms. Amos, you're recognized.
So we beefed up the termination clause in this substitute that's before you. What was in the contract is Metro's standard 30-day termination for convenience, where we can terminate upon 30 days written notice. What's before you now is immediate termination upon a vote of the Metro Council, upon a directive from the mayor's office, the police department, or the Department of Law.
Thank you. That's helpful. Second question is, we've heard some questions about policy. That's an important piece of it. Is it possible that this council could codify that policy and further refine it with input from the community so that it's not something that would be subject to change without public notice?
Do you want to address that to Metro Legal or to
Ms.
Special
Darby,
Counsel
whoever.
Darby? So your question then is an internal policy to MNPD that was shared earlier that's online. Can we codify something particular to the changes that, when changes are made to those?
Or can we codify the policy similar to
Okay.
what was done with other
I appreciate the
surveillance technology?
clarification. Ms. Darby, do you want to respond to that? Special Counsel Darby, go ahead.
I would be happy to work with you about codification of policies.
It can be done.
Something. I would be happy to work with you to see what could be done. Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. And then finally, I noticed that the policy has been changed to include a quarterly audit, which I had requested, and I think that's an important response to some of the other issues that has been raised. Can someone answer who would conduct those audits? Is that done by our audit department?
Special Counsel Darby, do you want to correct, or does the administration want to address? Okay.
Could we codify someone to audit that so we know that it's independent?
Okay, so Mr. Rosenberg for the administration.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilmember, even though it wouldn't be a financial audit, internal audit could be tasked with it. It's a performance audit. That would be most natural to complete that.
Thank you for that.
Okay. Councilwoman Hancock, you are recognized.
Previous question, please.
Okay. Ms. Hancock has called the previous question. Is there a second? Okay, it's been called and properly seconded. This is a non-debatable motion that requires 2/3 of those voting to vote in the affirmative. If you seek to end debate and discussion and move to the vote, you would vote aye in favor of the previous question. If you seek to continue the debate on the bill, you would vote no. Okay, we will try this first by vote, or by voice rather. All in favor of the previous question, please say aye.
Aye.
Any voting no? No. Okay, we need to move to the machine, Mr. Clerk. I cannot tell if that is indeed 2/3. With all votes in, Mr. Clerk, please show the vote. Okay, the motion to call the previous question, which requires 2/3 of those voting, fails, and thus the debate on the motion to approve as substituted and amended will continue. Mr. Prep-T, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I rise in opposition to this resolution. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to every single member of the public who has come out to speak about this specific issue. I've had a constituent here 2 meetings in a row. That's the first time that I've seen one of my constituents here. So I appreciate every single person who has come out and spoken about this specific issue. And I appreciate the mayor's office being willing to work with council to seek to address some of these issues. But even with this substitute and with the amendments, those issues persist. With the kill switch specifically, the way that it is set up in this legislation is that there will be a delay between the harm that occurs in our community until we are able to enact this kill switch. So that harm is going to take place. We've talked about victims of crime, and it's something that has affected all of us personally. I know that people in my life have been seriously affected by crime that to this day has not been solved. But I've said time and time again, especially as an attorney, that by the time we show up in court to prosecute a case, it is too late. What we need to be investing in is the things that we know that prevent crime. As my colleague, Councilmember Hill, put it, and as Ms. Clerjune from Turk Votes put it, we need to be addressing the underlying issues that cause and contribute to criminalized activity so that we can make sure that every single person in our community is safe. Because by the time that you are a victim of crime, it is too late. That is what we need to be doing. If we are serious about public safety, then we need to get past the idea of just incarceration. We cannot incarcerate our way out of these issues. We've been trying to do that since the 1990s. I was born in 1993. We've been doing it since before I was born, and it has not worked. We need to address the underlying issues of criminality. That is what we need to do. And that is why I'm voting against this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prep T. Councilwoman Bowe, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, I want to thank everyone for, taking this issue seriously, and I think having the conversations, doing the research, because we're tasked with doing something very difficult. I think we have to decide whether we are expanding surveillance systems that have significant implications for our community's safety, trust, and privacy. I know that FUSIS is framed as a tool to enhance public safety. We must really critically assess the true cost. First, we can't ignore the disproportionate impact expanding surveillance has on marginalized communities. Programs like these often lead to over-policing, particularly in communities of color and immigrant neighborhoods, exacerbating racial profiling and eroding trust between law enforcement and residents. Surveillance does not equal safety. If it comes out of the cost of alienating the very people it is meant to protect. Second, we must challenge the belief that technology will save us. This mentality that adopting the latest tools and systems will solve our complex social problems has got to stop. Safety comes from addressing root causes like poverty, inequity, and lack of resources, and not from outsourcing our solutions to machines and algorithms. We cannot let technology be a substitute for thoughtful policy and community engagement that has been reiterated over and over tonight. When communities feel constantly monitored, they stop seeing law enforcement as partners and begin to see them as overseers. Surveillance creates a divide. People are labeled as either good and therefore ignored, or bad and disproportionately targeted. This binary undermines the nuanced relationships needed to build trust and foster cooperation. Real safety is built when law enforcement engages as allies, not when people feel judged or watched. Lastly, we must consider alternatives. We are about to say that we're going to spend $774,900. That's a lot of money. And why are we using it for this system when and when we can use better alternatives for community safety? There's so many other examples. Community policing, we can train and hire officers skilled in cultural competency and de-escalation techniques. conflict mediation programs, support organizations that prevent violence before it occurs, crisis response teams, pair mental health professionals with officers. I know we do that. We need to do more. Neighborhood watch programs, empower residents to collaborate with law enforcement, which I did when I was a neighborhood leader. Multilingual outreach. Develop accessible public safety materials to engage immigrants and non-English speaking communities. So I leave you with this. Is it worth risking the safety and trust of marginalized communities for unproven surveillance gains? Should we pave the way for the state and the federal government to weaponize tech to attack our communities? For me, the answer is clear, and I urge everyone to vote no.
Thank you, Ms. Foe. Councilman Parker, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. First, I just wanted to acknowledge how many Nashvillians have joined this conversation and weighed in. We had dozens of people come out to the public hearing. At the last meeting, we had a letter from 40-something community groups. We had a letter from Urban League today. We received a petition today with 665 signatures. I scrolled that. I saw all kinds of people, names I recognize, pastors, community leaders, et cetera, from around Nashville. I'm expressing opposition to this program, and I just want to acknowledge that and thank citizens of Nashville for becoming so engaged in this, and we appreciate their input, and we do value it. I have a question about the kill switch. As I understand it, if this were enacted, I was looking around at how this is implemented in other communities, and essentially the Metro would kind of be the marketer. They would be connecting these private entities with Axon to purchase the technology to connect to their camera systems, as well as presumably signing a contract between Axon and that private entity. So if this kind of worst case scenario, kind of the risk that we've acknowledged does occur and we initiate this kill switch, what happens to all those deployed pieces of hardware that these Axon customers have purchased, and what happens to the contracts between Axon and each of those entities?
Okay, Mr. Parker, do you want to address that to anyone in particular?
I could address it to the administration table.
Okay. Mr. Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam President, Council Member. So the boxes you're referring to, they're boxes that need to be physically hooked up to the camera in order for it to work with Axon. It can't work without that. That's why things like Ring and that don't work. And the businesses pay, like a small business would pay $150 for one. Any contract that's there is dependent on the parent contract, the one with MNPD, so that goes away. They've purchased that piece of software, so at that point, I would classify it personally as a paperweight, but it does not live on as a zombie or something like that.
So we know that folks will not be signing contracts with Axon directly.
If they're
Mr. Rosenberg, yep.
Thank you. It's not one of term. It's for the life of while they're connected to the network, the MNPD parent network.
Okay, thank you.
You can continue to clarify if you wish.
So I guess what I'm asking is, presumably there's an agreement governing whatever relationship there is. That agreement is strictly with MNPD. You're certain that it's not with Axon, no terms of agreement, no anything like that?
It's with Axon, but it's dependent on the parent agreement existing.
Okay, thank you.
And Axon is who they register their cameras through directly.
Okay, thank you.
Clarify.
I'm not 100% confident that we can completely undo that contractual relationship, that agreement between someone who purchased this hardware and Axon. So, I remain really concerned about this. The folks that I called out, the 40 community groups, the 665 people, remain very concerned about this. I think I can't vote for this today. I think if there's a path for Metro to adopt a technology like this, I believe it runs through a good faith effort to communicate with these folks who have expressed very real concerns to this body about this technology. And I haven't seen that happen yet, so I can't support this today.
Okay. Next in the queue is Councilwoman Benedict. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I have a couple of points I want to talk about, and my colleague just mentioned the amount of feedback that we've received from the public. By and large, the feedback that I've received is against this resolution. By and large, the people who have come out and shown from the public that they don't want this the numbers have been in tremendously larger for those who don't want this than who do. As a member of the LGBTQ caucus, I'm particularly sensitive to the concerns of the trans community, and our colleague spoke about that from a very personal point of view that no one else on this floor has experienced. Tennessee has become increasingly hostile to the LGBTQ community, and the state has already signaled its intent to use legal means to access personal records, including, those related to trans health care. So what I'm most concerned with right now as a city that I think we really need to be looking at is, I believe our police officers need the right tools to succeed, and that technology can play a role in crime reduction. I believe we first have to focus on building trust in the community. Crime rates have decreased in recent years, and our officers are doing excellent work. However, I think adding new surveillance tools should not come at the cost of further eroding public trust. In fact, when Axon Fusus came before us previously, it was revealed that MNPD had entered into a contract with the company without the proper oversight or approval from this body. And furthermore, Axon, the company that bought and acquired Fusus, Axon has a history of hostility towards this council. A year ago, they brought a taser contract to us with the threat of either passing it on their timeline or they would have given a price increase to us. That's just not a proper partner, in my opinion. My fear is, I believe, justified, and the public's fear is, I believe, justified, that we would be entering into an agreement with someone who does not act like a partner. And if we want to get real results for the citizens, for the public who have come out and spoken up and told us, and it's the public, it's the people for whom we work. And it's the people who have shown up and have told us. It's not business interests. It's the people who have shown up and told us that they don't want this. To me, I just can't support this in its current form. I can't support a company that I just don't believe this is the right thing. And so with that, I urge my colleagues to also vote against this. And if I could say previous question, I would, but I know we still have other things to hear. Thank you.
Mr. Benton, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would love to call the question, but I will not right now. Homicide is up 152% since 2014. Auto theft is up 320% since 2013. Rape is up 27% since 2012. We failed our citizens trying to protect the criminals. We're not over-policing. My officers in my neighborhood, as they come through often fighting crime, are over 20 calls behind and more typically. We have heard inaccurate fear-mongering about Fusus technology during our public hearing. It does not stream live video and push it to MNPD. There's no constant feed of surveillance. It is made available by desperate businesses on demand voluntarily as a link, not a camera. It does protect their life's investment in the American dream. It is accessed only after a call for service, not as a monitored live stream. The prominent points made here in the public hearing during our discussion against Fusus give criminals a head start for their getaway while innocent victims for crime remain unrepresented and vulnerable. The arguments whipped up unfounded and irrational fear. The Stiles Amendment, Section C, covers gender identity, sexual orientation as misuse. MNPD will not be looking for and tracking transgenders or those planning to transition, or abortion seekers. As for deportation fear, making it illegal immigration issue, nobody that's a known shopper is going to be accused of being an abortion seeker, a transgender, or undocumented alien unless they commit a crime and there's a call for service.
Okay. As I look at the queue, Ms. Porterfield, Ms. Gadd, Ms. Evans, Mr. Nash, you have all spoken thus far. You have colleagues at the bottom of the queue, Mr. Rutherford and Ms. Weiner, who have yet to speak on this bill. And as such, I'm going to go now to Mr. Rutherford. You are recognized.
Previous question.
Okay. Mr. Rutherford has called the previous question. Is there a second? Okay, it's properly moved and seconded. This is a non-debatable motion that requires 2/3 of those voting. As it was very close last time, I'm just not going to try this by voice. I'm just going to go straight to the machine. So, Mr. Clerk, if you would please load the vote. If you vote aye or in favor of the previous question, you want to end debate and move to the vote. If you vote no, you want the debate to continue. All votes are in. Mr. Clerk, please show the vote. Okay, the motion to call the question fails. 24 voted in favor, 14 against. It requires 2/3. Okay, as I said prior, just for transparency, Ms. Evans and Mr. Nash, having already spoken on this matter, I'm moving to colleagues below you in the queue who have yet to speak on the matter. Councilwoman Weiner, you are recognized. Ms. Weiner, I apologize. Let me find your button. There you go.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'll be brief. We're recorded when we go to the grocery, when we get on our computer and peruse the internet, and even when we use our own cell phones. If USIS is voted down, the cameras will still be rolling. The owners of the cameras can and will still provide those videos to Metro Police, just not as quickly. Crime is not down, crime is up. You've heard the statistics. If another woman, man, Hispanic, Black, white, gay, straight, or trans person is attacked, how long will it take for the perpetrator to be found before recommitting a crime? Without the connectivity of fuses, and until a private camera might have captured something, someone, somewhere, quick enough to prevent another crime from occurring. How many women, men, trans, gay, straight, Black, white, Hispanic, immigrant Nashvillians need to be put in harm's way because we didn't agree to use a technology that would speed up apprehension? That's what this does. How many synagogues and other faith facilities that have, let me back up and do that again. How many synagogues and other faith facilities will be left without the opportunity to use this technology to keep its members safe? Right now, they're not as safe as they were. We need both enforcement and protections when crime is occurring. We need social solutions. But how long has that taken? And how much longer will it take? How long will it take moving forward while we don't have fuses and we don't have additional protections to keep all of our Nashvillians safe and to keep them safe today and tomorrow while we come up with those very needed social solutions? I am as scared as anybody in this room.
Quiet in the gallery, please.
I am as scared as anyone in this room. I am scared for us, for our constituents, for our children, for our children's children, and for anyone who feels threatened. We don't need to be here fighting over this. We need to do both. We need to support fuses. We need to support the police who keep us safe and
Quiet, please.
And importantly and imperatively, we need to come up with the social solutions so that we don't have to have this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weiner. Okay, so Those of you colleagues that remain in the queue, at this juncture, you are going to be recognized potentially for a second time on this bill. So I would ask for purposes of a constructive debate, if another question has been raised, you want clarification, there's something that has come to mind that you've not yet spoken on, you want to pull some threads together, I will allow it, but I ask for you to, make it contribute to the debate, okay? Ms. Porterfield, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. First, I have a question for Director Darby, and it's piggybacking off of Councilmember Allen's question. It's my understanding that we as council members cannot change policy. We can do a non-binding resolution to ask a department to do a policy, but it's my understanding that we ourselves cannot, make a department do a policy. Am I misunderstanding that, Vice Mayor?
Special Counsel Darby, you're recognized.
Yes, I think that I offered to work with the council member to see what policies could be possibly codified in what style.
Okay, does that clarify your question? Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. That does clarify my question because that was my interpretation of the answer, but I don't know that that was everyone's interpretation of the answer. So to be clear, we as council members cannot be the ones to say that MNPD has to do a policy. The MNPD works under the director, and the director works under the mayor. So the director of none of our departments, those directors are not beholden to us as the council. Those directors are beholden to the mayor's office, not to the council. So it's my understanding that we ourselves cannot write those write policies. Next, Councilmember Gadd asked the question about, is there notice? There's not notice if a policy's changed. And we know that because the fuses policy was just changed recently when it came up the first time around, and Councilmember Allen and myself both had questions about the policy, and we wanted things to be changed, and there was an update to the policy, but there was no notice. So to answer Councilmember Gadd's question of, is there a public notice when policy is changed? No, there is not, which means policy could be changed, and we, the public, the public would not know, the council members would not know. Yes, it would be on the website, but that does not mean that there will be a notice. Next, I want to highlight that other cities, we've heard that other cities do have this, but other cities do have safeguards in place that we ourselves do not have. When I asked if this policy could only be used for the most egregious crimes, such as murders, rapes, or missing persons, I was told no. When I was asked, can we just use it for the sole purposes of felonies, I was told no. And the example I was given was domestic violence could be a misdemeanor, but that may be something that we want to use this for. And I 100% believe that MNPD only has the intent to do this for higher level crimes and not low level crimes. However, that is not in the policy anywhere. And what is considered a crime today, again, could change come January. We can't keep framing anytime people ask questions or push back or don't support something. We can't frame that as anti-police. This policy, voting this down is not anti-police. It's pro-people. It's pro-community. And we cannot believe that public safety is only beefing up policing. And if that was the case, we wouldn't have crime now because we continue to beef up policing term after term, year after year, and decades have gone by and it is not changing. And lastly, I just wanted to share that I've also been a victim of crime. And it was stated earlier, if you've been a victim of crime, you will want this. I've been a victim of crime. I still don't want it. And I want to thank my colleague, Olivia, for speaking up. And it really sucks that she would get a felony and have to give up her seat, especially when we could have a 34-time convicted felon leading this country. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Nash, are you seeking to be recognized? Yep. I have, let's see. Yep, everyone in the queue, I believe, has already, Ms. Johnston, have you spoken on the bill as substituted and amended at this juncture? Do you have a point of order, sir? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Prepty.
Oh, thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Sorry, I think what my colleague here was trying to point out is that on what we're seeing is that Councilmember or Chair Evans is next in the queue.
Okay, I do apologize. I'm sorry. Colleagues, I can only see 4 at any one time, and so I have to scroll, and it does not reconcile back to the top of the queue.
It's what I'm here to do, Vice Mayor.
Okay. I see it now. I do apologize. Ms. Evans, okay, so we are at this juncture back to folks, as Ms. Porterfield had, who have previously spoken on this bill and moving in order. And so, Ms. Evans, you are recognized. And thank you, Mr. Prepti, for the assistance there, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So I wanted to kind of come back to some of the concepts that have been discussed so far as part of our deliberation tonight. In particular, the fact that we need to be making investments into the community and look for opportunities to be able to elevate our communities enough where some of these horrible things are not happening. And I think that anybody who paid attention, first of all, since we started our term, you know, we had the recent announcement of the Community Review Board successfully securing the MOU with MNPD, which I know was a very long discussion for them that took too long. We also had the announcement this week, and large thanks to Chair Porterfield about the Office of Youth Safety is officially going to be a thing. We deliberated that during the conversation around the budget. This is a council body that is making investments, working in parallel paths to be able to not only invest in the community, but also look for opportunities to invest in tools and situations that will help the community in other ways. And I keep going back to apartment complex discussions because some of the highest touch communities that I have in District 12 are apartment complexes. I spend a lot of time in the apartment complexes that are in my district, in particular working with management, building relationships with management, building relationships with residents. And I have seen some very disturbing things. And I think the conversation about video tends to come after something horrible has happened. I had a double homicide that a 7-year-old witnessed. That spurred a conversation about the value of cameras and how they can get, footage to police more rapidly. So that way potential alleged criminals, could be identified faster, because there's nothing that keeps a parent in this particular situation up more at night is to know that her child is now going to be scarred and have to navigate the trauma of witnessing a crime like that. When we had in a neighboring district 20 cats who were dumped in a dumpster, half dead, that crime has not been solved. It spurred a conversation about where were cameras? Were they accessible? Was anything pointed in a place where the person who dumped all of those cats could have been located and potentially brought to justice? Because if you're killing cats and putting them in a dumpster, that's an indicator that you're going to be doing something else that's traumatic to the community. So I want to take those kind of aspects into consideration here. I need to solve for the community I live in today who is experiencing issues whenever there are calls for service that MNPD can't get the footage fast enough. And that is the problem that I'm trying to solve for. So I would recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Ms. Johnston, you have yet to speak on the bill as substituted and amended, so you are recognized, ma'am. Go ahead.
Previous question.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay. This is a non-debatable motion that requires 2/3 of those voting. Calling the previous question ends debate on the bill. So if you want to end debate and move to the vote, you would vote in favor of calling the question. If you want the debate to continue, you would vote no. Mr. Clerk, if you would please open the machine or the vote. Okay, all votes are in. Mr. Clerk, please show the vote. Okay, the motion has passed. And so debate on the resolution as substituted and amended has ended. And we will now move to the vote. And so, Mr. Clerk, if you would please load the vote. This is a motion to approve RS 2024-792 as substituted and amended. This requires 21 votes. Okay. All votes are in. Mr. Clerk, please show the vote. The motion fails. Quiet, please. Okay, we're quiet in the gallery, please. We're going to continue to proceed with our agenda. The next item on the agenda is agenda item 19, Resolution 2024-854. Quiet in the gallery, please. Please, folks. We have a resolution honoring someone at this juncture. So if you are going to be departing, please do so quietly, and you're welcome to discuss on the mezzanine outside. Sponsors Lee, Rutherford, Benton, Ellis, Wiener, Welsh, Toombs, Vogue, Gadd, Stiles, Coupin, and Swara. This is a resolution honoring the life of Alyssa Locketts. Quiet in the gallery, please. Ms. Lee, with your permission, I'm just going to wait a little bit so we can do appropriate honor to Ms. Locketts. Folks, I welcome you to chat with your community and so forth. Please do so on the mezzanine. If you are intending to depart, please go ahead and do so, or you're welcome to remain quietly. Please quietly proceed out if you intend to talk. Folks that are hugging and talking, please do so on the mezzanine. Love to see it, but please, outside. We need to be quiet in here so we can proceed with our agenda. Okay, Ms. Lee, this is back to the... Will whomever is out at the door kindly proceed onto the mezzanine and then close the door? Okay. All right, Ms. Lee, it's back to you on your resolution honoring the life of Alyssa Locketts. You're recognized.
Thank you so very much. I'd like to ask for committee reports.
Yes, Councilman Prep-T, Chair, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Rules considered this and voted 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Ms. Lee.
Yes, Madam Vice Mayor, I would like to move RS 2024-854 with some comments.
Is there a second? Okay, back to you, Ms. Lee.
We just had a lot with another vote, so I want to kind of let people breathe a little bit because I want them to really appreciate what we are bringing forth. We're bringing forth this resolution that is highlighting the life of a miraculous young person. Alyssa's family is not with us today. As you can imagine, when I checked to see if they were like they had just gone through a horrendous celebration because of Thanksgiving. I do have, though, I met Alyssa several times with her work through Mary Parish. And in case you all don't know, ironically, Mary Parish is an organization that provides transitional housing and support services to survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking. We actually have with us today in the audience the executive director of our Nashville Mary Parish, and that is Mary Catherine Rand, and I would like to ask her to stand because we also have the incoming president with us that wanted to be with us, and that is Mary Littleton. I would like to ask her to stand as well.
Welcome. Thank you all for being here.
Alyssa is very active in a multitude of organizations, and she had a zest for life that was infectious. She was a wonderful contribution to our community. She lived in my district, but had just bought a new home in Councilman Benton's district. The greenway in which this tragic thing happened was in Councilman Rutherford's district. This tragedy has put a focus, has put a light, not on just her great contributions to society and to our community, but it has also put a light on the need for safety measures in our different parks and greenways, and we are thankful for that. I would like to, I don't know if I can do this now, render some of my time. I know one of my other sponsors has a statement that he wanted to share. Can I surrender? I'm sorry.
Is that Mr. Rutherford?
It is.
I'm happy to recognize him, sure. Mr. Rutherford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. The loss of Alyssa Lacus was indeed a tragedy. I'll never forget personally the phone call I received from MNPD alerting me to her murder. I can't imagine the call received by her family and loved ones alerting them that her life had been taken. I didn't know her, but I understand she was well accomplished and had so much more still to do in her young life. She lived in District 33 and was murdered on the Mill Creek Greenway in District 31. We can honor her not just with this resolution, but through our actions. We are doing so many great things as a city, but when it comes to public safety, we are not keeping pace. Our parks and greenway system are awesome, but need to be made safer. For the Mill Creek Greenway in particular, it needs lighting, cameras, a gate, and more MMPD and park police presence. And this isn't just from me, but from those who live in the area and frequent the Greenway. So in Alyssa's honor, in her memory, let's do what is necessary to make our city safer and prevent future tragedies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rutherford. Ms. Lee, would you like to be recognized again? Mr. Rutherford can cede that time back to you. Ms. Lee, Ms. Bradford Councilman Bradford is also seeking to speak. Would you prefer him to speak first and then you can conclude? Okay. Mr. Bradford, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Could we go ahead and institute 12.3, I believe?
Yep,
Everybody voting in affirmative?
I think Ms. Lee will probably amend her motion to that effect. Rule 12.3 is all those voting in the affirmative will be signed on as co-sponsors. So thank you for elevating that, Mr. Bradford. And now it's back to you, Ms. Lee. Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice Mayor. So I will say again, as we are highlighting the life of somebody who was a huge contributor to our area, she is still contributing by helping us to shine a light on things that we need to look at in our parks to do now and not be on a list of things to do later. We need to make sure that those who are trying to do the healthy things in our parks are protected and that we put the things in place to do that. So I would like to amend my motion to include Rule 12.3 so that all those that are voting in the affirmative can have their name placed to this as well, and I would like to renew my motion.
Okay. Properly moved and seconded. With that, we will move to the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any voting no or abstaining? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Lee. All right. Next is agenda item 20, RS 2024-876, sponsors Toombs, Vo, Swara, Allen, Coopin, Gamble, Stiles, and Ewing. This is a resolution honoring Rosetta Miller Perry on the occasion of her 90th birthday. Ms. Toombs, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Chair Prep T, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. We considered the late filed nature of the substitute on this and voted 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. And then on the bill as substituted, 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, so thank you for the reminder because, Ms. Toombs, we have, in addition to the proposed substitute, we now have a late filed substitute. Council members have heard the report of Chair Prep T as to the late nature of the substitute. And so I guess it's to you, Ms. Toombs. Let's first get the bill before us and then we'll substitute, or rather we'll suspend the rules to take up the new substitute.
Move for approval.
Is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded.
I'd like to suspend the rules.
Okay. Is there any objection to the suspension of the rules to get the late filed substitute before us for a revised version of this honorary resolution? Okay, seeing none, the rules are suspended. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to move the late filed substitute.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, go ahead.
So I did the original language of the substitute and shared that with Mrs. Perry. And so the late filed one represents what she wants it to say. So with that, I renew my motion for approval.
Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the substitute, please say aye.
Aye.
Any voting no or abstaining? Ms. Toombs?
Move for approval as substituted.
Okay, properly seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, so this has passed as substituted to the wishes of Ms. Perry. And Ms. Toombs, go ahead. I'll recognize you again for.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I forgot to invoke the rule, so anyone wanting to sign on, if you could email the clerk.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, are we in an okay space? Yeah, okay. Yeah, just email metroclerk@nashville.gov if you would like to be signed on to RS 876. Okay. Next is agenda item 21, RS 2024-879, sponsors Porterfield, Parker, Welsh, and Allen. This is a resolution approving an application for an environmental and climate justice community change grant from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Nashville Mayor's Office to provide funding for the North Nashville and Bordeaux Hubs and Spokes project. Ms. Porterfield, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, Budget and Finance approved this 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay. Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, Chair Parker.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Transportation and Infrastructure recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting.
Okay. So it's back to you.
Move for approval.
Thank you. Is there a second? Okay, it's properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill? Okay, Ms. Kimbrough, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I took this off consent because I wanted to vote against it, but I wanted to explain for my constituents that are out there because it does involve Bordeaux. But the reason I am voting against this is because it is a $20 million environmental grant. And I think most know that District 1 has been one of the most environmentally aggrieved districts there is. I discussed this grant with the representative from the mayor's office, and my issue was, and the reason I'm voting against it, is because out of that $20 million, my understanding based on the conversation I had, I think with the grant applicant, was that 500,000 of that $20 million would be used for a study, a feasibility study of our closed landfill in Bordeaux, and that's all I know that we would be getting from it. However, of course, I was somewhat taken aback considering that we have bore, I guess, the lion's share of that which is environmentally unsafe. So I'll be voting against it. I just wanted my community to know why I'm doing so. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate that, Ms. Kimbrough. Is there any other discussion on this bill? Okay. With a no vote on a resolution, which is a single vote, we will have to go on the machines to record that accordingly. So, Mr. Clerk, colleagues, back to your desks, if you will, so that we can vote on Resolution 879. We have a no vote, so we have to vote on the machine. Are all members seeking to vote? Have you all voted? Okay. Mr. Clerk, please show the vote. Okay, this resolution is passed, 30 in favor and 1 against. Okay, next is agenda item 24. This is RS 2024-882, sponsor Porterfield, an initial resolution determining to issue general obligation bonds to the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County in the aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $527,170,000. Ms. Porterfield, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This only went to one committee, which was Budget and Finance. It was deferred one meeting, 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. I believe Rule 21 will automatically defer it one meeting.
Yep, that's Rule 8.1. That is a mandatory one meeting deferral. Is that correct? And 21 too. Hey.
Thanks.
Okay, all right. We're doing all the rules.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
That is deferred one meeting, which will be to the second meeting of December. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Porterfield. Next is Agenda Item 32, RS 2024-890, sponsor Porterfield. This is a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Department of Law to compromise and settle the claim of Sarah Shea Sally Davis against the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County in the amount of $50,000 to be paid for from the Judgments and Losses Fund. Chair Porterfield, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, Budget and Finance voted 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting for approval. Our committee was the only committee it went to, so I'm going to move for approval.
Okay, is there a second? Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Okay. Okay, let's move to the vote by voice and see if we may need to go on the machine if we've got a no. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any voting no? Any abstaining? Okay. With that, this resolution has passed. We are moving on. Agenda Item 33, RS 2024-891, sponsors Porterfield, Gamble, and Welsh. This is a resolution accepting a grant from the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan National Planning Department to investigate brownfield sites adjacent to the East Bank. Ms. Porterfield, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, Budget and Finance considered 891 and also considered the amendment, and they voted 10. We voted 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting on both the amendment as well as the resolution as amended.
Okay, Vice Chair Rutherford for the report of the Planning and Zoning Committee, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Planning and Zoning heard RS 2024-891 and voted 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting on the amendment, and the same vote on the resolution as amended.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Thank you. Okay, properly moved. Is there a second? Okay. And then do you want now then, Ms. Porterfield, to move the amendment?
I would like to move the amendment, please.
Is there a second? Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion to amend, which I understand to be somewhat of a housekeeping amendment? Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, the amendment's on the bill. Ms. Porterfield, if
Move
you
for
would.
approval as amended.
Thank you. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this resolution has passed as amended. Okay, next is Agenda Item 34. Nope, wrong. Boop, boop. 46, Agenda Item 46, RS 2024-904, sponsor Porterfield, is a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of Paula Lewis against the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County in the amount of $155,000, and that said amount to be paid out of the Self-Insured Liability Fund. Ms. Porterfield, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This went to Budget and Finance. We voted in favor 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting, and I move for approval.
Okay, is there a second? Properly moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on the bill? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no? Ms. Welsh is a no. That means we will need to do a roll call vote. Mr. Clerk, could you please load the vote? A resolution with a no vote requires a roll call. Everybody seeking to vote has voted? Yes? Mr. Benton, are you having difficulty with your tablet? Are you all set? Okay. Ms. Vo, are you seeking to vote on this item? Okay, no worries. Oh, Ms. Evans Siegel, do you want to vote on this? All votes are in. Mr. Clerk, please show the vote. The motion passes 31 in favor, 1 against, 0 abstentions. Next is Agenda Item 47, RS 2024-905, sponsors Eastlick, Stiles, Coopin, Huffman, Horton, and Bradford. This is a resolution urging the Metropolitan Police Department to increase traffic enforcement and the Nashville Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure to improve the physical environment for everyone using the road. Mr. Eastlick, you are recognized, sir.
Committee reports, please.
Okay. Chair Parker for Transportation and Infrastructure, go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We recommended a 2-meeting deferral, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Okay, thank you. Chair Evans for Public Health and Safety, do you have a committee report for this bill? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Evans. Go ahead, Chair.
Yes, we recommended 2-meeting deferral, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, now it's back to you, Mr. Eastlick, for a motion on your bill.
Move for a 2-meeting deferral.
Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the 2-meeting deferral? Mr. Coopin, you seek to be recognized. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be brief, but appreciate my colleagues' support on this 2-meeting deferral. This is an effort I've been part of as well. And as we heard earlier during the debate on FUSIS, there's a lot of folks that want to have community conversations, want to be engaged in community safety, finding the root causes of these issues. And so I appreciate the time that will take us to the end of January. I've convened a task force of folks from Gideon's Army, NAACP, People's Budget, all sorts of different organizations to talk through what traffic enforcement can look like, but making sure we don't go back to the ways of the Driving While Black report in those times and those kind of minority profiling that was happening. So excited to have the opportunity to work through this and hopefully come with something collaborative. I know one of our colleagues brought a substitute, and the intention is to work together to come up with something that everyone can get on board with and feel good about. So I urge my colleagues to support the deferral. Thank you.
All righty. Is there anyone else seeking discussion on the motion for a 2-meeting deferral? Just for clarification, that will be to the first and only meeting in January of January 21st. Okay. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this is deferred 2 meetings to the meeting of January 21st. Next is Agenda Item 48, RS 2024-906. Sponsors, Porterfield, Ewing, Weiner, Coopin, Prep Gad, Ellis, Stiles, Allen, Benedict, Vo, Spain, Parker, Evans, Siegel, Welsh, Nash, Lee, Huffman, Taylor, Evans, Webb, Hancock, Swara, Cap, Cash, Toombs, Rutherford Hill, and Bradford. This is a resolution honoring the life of Bill Freeman and recognizing him for his contributions to Nashville and the greater community. Ms. Porterfield, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm going to move for approval with a comment.
Let's get your committee report first.
Oh, my apologies.
No worries.
Committee reports.
Councilman Prepty, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Rules Confirmation Public Elections. Consider this resolution. Voted 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, now it's back to you, Ms. Porterfield.
Thank you. Now I would like to move for approval with a comment.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. On November 17th, Nashville lost a giant when we lost community leader Bill Freeman. And while you can read about his accolades from working for the Metro Department and Metro Development and Housing Agency to founding Freeman Webb Company with Jimmy Webb, to opening their headquarters, which was the first gold LEED certified building in Tennessee, to being on the Airport Authority, to founding FW Publishing, which purchased publications including the Nashville Scene. Mr. Freeman served the Nashville community in many ways, including as being a member of member of the boards of Nashville and Davidson County Mental Health and Veterans Association Foundation, the Tennessee State University, the Nashville Area YMCA, the Nashville Public Television Council, and Nashville State Community College Foundation. And in 2016, he was appointed by President Barack Obama to the Kennedy Center Advisory Committee on the Arts. And in 2022, he was appointed by President Joe Biden to the J. William Fulbright Scholarship Awards Board. And while his resume is extremely impressive and important, some of the most impressive things that I learned about Mr. Freeman are some of the things that you don't get accolades for. And whenever there is a community loss, obviously we all feel that hurt, but a beautiful thing happens when people from the community speak up about the legacy of that person. And I read countless stories of how he quietly helped so many people in Nashville, across the state, and across our country. He acted selflessly and almost always anonymously to help individuals and groups in need. He enjoyed flying, hunting, and racing at the fairground speedways. And he set an example for our community on how we fight for each other and our values, and how we provide for each other to our greatest abilities. So I just wanted to, on behalf of our council, give heartfelt condolences to his wife, Babs, his sons, Bob, Harvey, and Mike, to his 6 grandchildren that he leaves behind, and to just honor the legacy of wisdom, kindness, and commitment to helping others. And we had a ton of co-sponsors on this. If you did not get a chance to sponsor, please go ahead and email the clerk and add your name. And with that, I would ask my colleagues to move for approval.
Thank you, Ms. Porterfield. So we have moved approval. It's properly seconded, and we are on to discussion. Ms. Swara, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. There's a saying that says that a legacy is not what is written on your tombstone, but what is in the hearts of men. I met Mr. Freeman when I first ran for office as an immigrant seeking an at-large position, a very daunting thing. I had to talk to a couple of people, and he was one of the people that I met, very encouraging, very supportive, donated to my campaign. I can say that out loud, it's public record. But he did so much more after that. He and his son, actually, and his business. I remember when we had the tornado, even last year, and we were looking at families that were displaced. I called Bob, and the family was ready to provide homes and some of the rental apartments or Airbnb for people to stay in. So he did so much, like Councilmember Porterfield said very quietly, but I'm very appreciative of his support. He supported a lot of people in Nashville, and I was one of them, and he's a lot of things that he's done that we benefited from, but on a personal note, I just wanted to raise my voice, say thank you to him, pray for his family, may the Lord be with them and support them and hold them and comfort them like no one else can, and then we're very grateful, and so with that, I ask for support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Swara. Councilman Prep T, Chair Prep T, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor, and thank you to the lead sponsor and to everybody who has signed on to this resolution. I just wanted to rise and say that Bill Freeman's legacy will continue to live on in every single person and institution that he was able to touch, and to continually do good for the people of this city and of this state. All of us who have been touched by his life in some way are immensely grateful for everything that he has done for our community. He has stood with so many people to remind them that they are not alone in their fights and in their struggles. And if there's anybody here who is struggling with anything, know that you are not alone, that there are people who are willing to sit with you, talk with you, and be with you. And if you are struggling with anything and need somebody to talk to, you can always call or text 988 so that you can have somebody to talk to. Because I know that the Freeman family have always been folks that you can go to, that you can rely on. And so just knowing that their legacy lives on is very heartwarming. And so thank you to the sponsors for bringing this. And I want to thank Bill and the Freeman family for all that they've done for our community.
Thank you, Mr. Prepty. Mr. Huffman, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'll be very brief with my comments. Bill Freeman was larger than life. I just wanted to share just a quick story because it just always just impressed me about him. Back in 2013, I was on a work trip. I was flying back from Chicago. And prior to that job, which was in the private sector, I worked for the House Democratic Caucus. way back in the 2010 election cycle. So I got to know Chair at the time, Chip Forrester, a lot of other people. And on this flight back, Chip Forrester was there with a man I'd never met before, and it was Bob Freeman. Or Bill Freeman, sorry. And Bill, he chatted with me the entire plane ride, made me feel like he was just one of my buddies. And then I turned around and I voted for this man for the first time I ever voted for mayor. I voted for Mr. Freeman. That relationship continued. He was a donor to my campaign, and he donated to a lot of your campaigns, I know. So the Freeman family means a lot to this city, and he means a lot to this body, and just my thoughts and prayers are with the Freeman family in this extremely difficult time. Like I said, Bill was larger than life, and we should honor him as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Huffman. Ms. Swara, are you seeking to be recognized again? Just briefly, please.
Yes, ma'am. Rather than asking people to email the clerk, can we just apply Rule 12.3, please?
Well, I think Ms. Porterfield, who was the sponsor,
Would you amend
indicated
your-
that she just wanted to have folks email the clerk. So I just leave it with her if she wants to continue with that or amend her motion. Sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. When the number one at-large seat tells me to do something, I do it. So I'm just kidding. That was a joke. I'm going to amend the motion and ask that we apply that rule so that everyone that's voting in the affirmative can be listed as a sponsor.
Okay, is there a second to amend the approval motion with 12.3 such that all those voting in the affirmative will be signed on as a co-sponsor? Okay, seeing no further discussion, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no? Any abstaining? Okay, that resolution has passed. All right, next agenda item M1 is a late resolution, sponsor Coupon. This is a resolution authorizing BB Broadway LLC to construct and install an aerial encroachment at 209 Broadway. Mr. Coupon, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to move to suspend the rules, please.
Okay. Mr. Prepti, Chair, did you
Committee
take-
reports first, please.
take up the emergency nature of, well, wait, we got to suspend the rules to even get it before us before we even ask him for committee reports. So can you speak to the emergency nature of this and your committee taking it up? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. So the committee heard the late filed nature of this resolution as it relates to the aerial encroachment, it being an administrative issue with codes and planning. And in taking that into consideration, the committee voted 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting to suspend the rules.
Okay, and so it's back to you, Mr. Coupon, to request such.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to move to suspend the rules.
Is there any objection to the suspension of the rules to get this item before us? Seeing none, the rules are suspended. Okay, Mr. Coupon?
Then I would like committee reports.
Okay,
Or do I not need committee reports since it's...
Right, yep. I will go now to Planning and Zoning Chair Rutherford. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. Planning and Zoning considered this late filed resolution, voting 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay. Chair Parker for Transportation and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Transportation Infrastructure recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting.
Okay, with those committee reports, Mr. Coupon, it's back to you for a motion on your resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. Would like to move approval with a brief comment.
Is there a second? Go ahead, sir.
All right, I'll keep it brief. Thank you for allowing this late filed resolution. I don't like to bring these if I can avoid it. As Chair said earlier, this is a situation with a couple different departments and moving parts to get this sign located appropriately and permitted appropriately. So this is something that I felt was justified to late file. They've got a certain date they have to hit for some logistical concerns on their end, and seeing no negative and seeing upside to this, decided to move it late, and so appreciate my colleagues' support.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no? Any abstaining? Okay, this resolution has passed. All right, now we are in section N of the agenda, bills on introduction and first reading. Without objection, all items on first reading may be voted on at the same time. Do any items need to be pulled from first reading consideration? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion for approval of all the items on first consideration? Okay, moved and properly seconded without objection. All items on first reading are approved. Okay, now we move to bills on second reading that were not on our consent agenda. Okay, and first among those is unhappily, I think only among those is agenda item 93, ordinance BL 2024-628, sponsors Nash, Porterfield, Gamble, Parker, Welsh, and Allen. This is an ordinance approving a participation agreement between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Housing Division of the Metropolitan Planning Department and Sojourn Nashville Apartments LP to provide enhanced pedestrian signaling for Sojourn Nashville Apartment LP's proposed development, as well as other existing properties in the area. Mr. Nash, you are recognized, sir.
Committee reports, please.
Okay. For Budget and Finance, Chair Porterfield.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance voted 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting for the substitute, and 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting for the bill as substituted.
Okay. Next to Planning and Zoning, Vice Chair Rutherford. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. Planning and Zoning consider BL 2024-628, voting 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting on the substitute, and the same vote on the bill as substituted.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. And Chair for Transportation Infrastructure, Mr. Parker.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Transportation Infrastructure considered the substitute, voted 11 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting. And on the bill as substituted, also recommended 11 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting.
Okay. Mr. Nash, it's back to you for a motion to get the bill before us.
I would move for approval.
Okay. Properly moved and seconded. Okay, back to you, sir. Do you want to move your substitute?
I would like to move my substitute, please.
Okay. There's a motion to substitute, properly seconded. Is there any discussion on their substitute or anything you want to share in that regard, Mr. Nash?
Most of this was created by planning, but it's a sidewalk or crosswalk that we badly need in the area, so
Great.
I ask for your support.
All righty. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor of the motion to substitute, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay. Now we need a motion for your bill as substituted, sir.
Move to approve as substituted, please.
Okay. Any discussion on that? Seeing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any voting no or abstaining? Okay. This has passed second reading as substituted. Ooh, and that is the very last item on our agenda. Our next council meeting will be on Tuesday, December 17th. Is there a motion to adjourn? Okay, we're adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.